You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
There was no way in hell that I was going to waste time tonight. Especially with our guests. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's good to be back. It's great to see you all coming on in. Wherever that you're sitting, I hope that you've either found your old trusty spot that still has the wonderful imprint of your hardy ass. Sit right into your usual spot or make yourself a new one. You can get closer to the stage if you'd like. Ain't nobody gonna bite. And we are now firmly in the into the month of October. It's the first full month of October, and I'm so happy to be here with you on this Wednesday evening. It's already hump day. You know, how the hell that happened? Although we have not been out of touch. Save for yesterday, I did a live stream almost every day. I uploaded a lot. If you are a monthly subscriber, you got a lot of stuff that Instagram and everywhere else didn't get on Patreon, Subscribestar, or the members only section. But still, lots of stuff that I shared, and I really hope that you enjoyed it, because here's J Gulinello. First of all, I'll talk to him about this next thought I have. Jay, welcome to the show. How the hell you been?
I'm good. I'm still really stuck on the fact that we're a quarter of the way through October.
Yes.
I don't want that to be the case. Can you do something about that?
I don't know. I haven't been able to stop anything.
Failure.
I am powerless against this whole year. What's been going on? I have no clue what's happening there. But I will say this: coming back from the mountains this week. First of all, I don't know how I feel about coming back home in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. It just felt like a very strange kind of a Sunday. Very strange stuff. But I just want to stress again to everybody out there, you need things to look forward to. You need things to look forward to, especially if you're overly sentimental like I am. You know, it's wonderful to say, oh well, we're going to go out to the Adirondacks for a couple of days, and every time we show up, it's fun, it's exciting, but it's also like immediately melancholy for me. Because every time I walk through the doors of that house, I know that another year has gone by. Aurora's another year older. When we leave, the next time we step on the porch, we're all going to be another year older. and I contemplate that. Yeah. I respect that passage of time. But it's easier to get through that if you say, okay, what's coming up next?
Right.
What are we doing at home? What do we do? And I just hope everybody out there takes a couple of days here and there to go somewhere that is in driving distance. You don't need to go to a theme park. You don't need to go to a nightclub.
You shouldn't.
Just find yourself a patch of woods. Find yourself a quiet lake, something.
Yeah.
And just take an extra day, a Monday or a Friday, whatever the hell you got to do. You can do it, and you need to do it. So
if you want a different perspective on things, you're usually not going to get it within the same four walls.
No, you got to move.
Yeah.
Absolutely got to move. And so that's it. I like, you know what was great about this? I love, especially around here, Jay. And now you grew up in New England, and I am in New York, which is the gateway to New England. And all around here, as you know, and I've said it many times on the show, I love if you're in small mountain towns all over the country, and I haven't been very, very many places. I'm going to work on that. But small mountain towns, especially on the East Coast, you're talking history that is as old as it gets when it comes to the United States. Obviously, natural history is another thing. Mountains, streams, forests, geysers, caves. We have it all here. But I love going through sleepy, sometimes dilapidated towns that have those, that are just speckled with those little blue gold historical landmark plaques.
Yeah.
You know, where on this date 200 years ago, something ridiculously more exciting than what's going on right now happened. I just love that. I really do, because, you know, most of what is there is to be known about this country or any country is buried in those small towns.
Man, I got to tell you this. I don't know if I've ever said this on the show or even ever told you this. It's weird when I say it because it seems morbid, but I promise you it's not. It's actually right in line with what you're talking about. One of my favorite things to do when I go anywhere, if I have the time and it's more leisure and not just like a business trip or something, especially if I see a small sort of you would think is like an inconsequential little plot of land that's a graveyard. And actually in the town that I grew up there, the main graveyard there, I still walk there all the time. And that graveyard has graves that are brand new, like 2025, and it has pre-Revolutionary War graves. I find that to be so fascinating. And if you've ever seen some of those headstones, they used to write stories about the person.
Yeah.
And that is fascinating. You're standing at the foot of where people mourn the loss of somebody before the Revolutionary War was even fought in some cases. It's enough to give you chills. And I love to do that wherever I go, because like in my mind, I'm looking for I'm trying to find the oldest gravestone I can find, because again, what can you even imagine where you're standing, what that looked like 250 plus years ago? I think that's super cool. So I totally know exactly what you're saying. And a graveyard is one of the best places if you want to get that feeling. Just, you know, on a fall day, nothing more beautiful, and you can find some really interesting things to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the first houses that we used to go to it was in Olmstedville, New York.
Okay.
And you can look up Olmstedville, New York, and because I want to know more about these places when we pass through them. And I think that on average, it has something like graduating classes of like 15 kids, like small.
That's even smaller than mine.
Yeah, very small stuff.
Yeah.
But around there was little cemeteries where there's people that were buried there recently, and you can tell that they probably had family there for many generations. And then Civil War graves all over the place. New York sent the Adirondack regiments.
Yeah.
Alone, I was reading about up there. We went to this place. What was it? This Blue Mountain Lake or something. It was like the Adirondack experience. We found this museum that was maybe about 30 miles away from where we were, and it was a beautiful drive. And we saw so many things. I posted a walkthrough of this old train, this luxury train. It was called the Oriental, and hold on, let me see if this is. It was built in 1890s, so it's a Gilded Age thing.
Yeah.
But there's just so much stuff going on up there, and I posted that on Instagram. You can go check it out. But the big events around the country, around the world, they really always steal the show of people's attention. But I just really think it's just everything in between that's so incredible. Like that little, I brought up that town of North Creek before in the Adirondacks that we stop into from time to time. And that's where Teddy Roosevelt was hanging out at the time that he was given the news of McKinley's assassination.
Wow.
And this year we went to, like I said, the Blue Mountain Adirondack Museum for this Fall Fest thing. And they had all these incredible exhibits there that were great, boats and art and all that stuff. But they have all this Teddy Roosevelt stuff up there because they spent so much time in places like New York, especially when it meant so much more politically to the Union back then.
Right.
And I don't know, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful. There's history buried all over the place in small towns across the country. Just go to one of them, drive there, and
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love that stuff, and anytime I travel anywhere, I try to pad in a little bit of that free time, or I'll just end up walking around because I just like to walk. And so finding those places are gems, and you can usually learn some really interesting things that aren't, popular in textbooks or in, on social media. You'll find some really interesting nuggets. So that's cool.
And these are the types of views that you get from parking lots.
I mean, it's just like
look, Jay, this was a parking lot.
It's the prettiest parking lot I've ever seen.
And then when we got to one of many observation decks, and it's just, you get me out of the way here, and boom, you're looking at it's just
awesome. Many
layers.
We talk a lot about health on this show, and you guys know me as the biochemistry mitochondria guy, all that stuff. But from the macro, so my job is to understand the micro and help people work on all the little things. But I always tell people, none of that matters if you don't have the macro, if you don't have the big things. And so even just, there is no way that I could quantify on a lab value or in a supplement form what taking in that site, breathing in that air, and standing there in awe of nature, there is no way I can quantify that for you, what it means to your health. But when we look at longevity around the globe, and we look at, we talk about the blue zones all the time, and the only reason that they want to make blue zones about nutrition is because there's money to be made on the plant-based diets, right? That's nonsense. The thing that unites all of the blue zone areas, they have actually a variety of different diets. Some of them actually even ate more meat than plants. What binds them is generally nature, movement, community, all of these things that we just kind of take for granted, or we not even take for granted anymore. We don't even consume them anymore because we're too consumed with other things like the news, like social media, like what's going on with, the Trump administration. Not that stuff isn't important, but if you're not taking time to do what you just did and take a moment to stare at something beautiful like that, I truly believe you're missing out, even if we can't quantify it in some kind of health metric. I'm just telling you that from my experience. There's nothing better. And again, you want a new perspective on life, your own life in general, go get a physical new perspective on something, and things will change for you. It's amazing.
And speaking of macros, this was Sunday night. There you go.
Those are fantastic.
I know.
Holy mackerel.
I know.
No, holy steak.
Well, listen, dude, Sal came up on Friday night, so he brought a whole thing with him, and he cooked on Friday. He cooked on Saturday night, and then he left behind 6 more steaks. So I cooked these on Sunday night, and man, they came out wonderful.
I fasted today. This is torturous.
Look at all the butter.
I know. That's of course the first thing your eyes are drawn to.
That's it. Oh,
Thanks, Frank.
They were well salted and buttered, and good Lord.
And if you got good salt and butter and a good steak, you really don't need much else.
No, you didn't. We didn't need anything.
Yeah.
There was no A1 to be found.
There's not. I mean, yeah. Ooh. Well, great.
Yes, I know. Good golly.
I'm outside my eating window.
Well, there's some inspiration for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of things just to remind you about. Not only are all of your super chats, quite frankly, superchat.com, the Rumble rants, the YouTube supers, and of course the gold pills. We're going to be reading them throughout the show tonight. We're not really going to take an intermission. We're going any breaks. We're just going to keep talking because there's so many things to talk about. I was going to bring up spooky stories from like mountains, but then I said, there's too many interesting things for us to do outside of that. I'm just going to save that for other nights, and including nights like this Saturday when we have nights like this Saturday when I have my cousins in. And we just start getting spooky with it, man. It's October.
This is the month for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. But all of the super chats that you send in are going to go in for this cozy basket that we're going to give away next Monday the 13th. Monday the 13th, because I wanted to make sure you had at least 2 full weeks.
Wow.
I know.
I see coffee. I see a Quite Frankly mug. I see Verso.
And there's more. I'm adding keto brains to it. There's blankets and socks and books and protein chips and all that.
Boy.
Yeah, I know. Everything's in there. So just letting you know, there's quite a few of you who are already in the running, and that'll be coming up soon. Okay, let's see. What's the other thing I had over here? Oh, wait. One last thing before we go into the first topic of the night. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the Playhouse.
That is a spooky picture.
Yes, that is actually the Playhouse that we grew up in my grandmother's backyard.
No way.
We had all types of sleepovers and campouts.
Wow.
We had our Nintendo 64 in that house, and now it's all dilapidated. And so what we did was we lit it up. We lit it up. And now this is the new channel that Anthony and I created. Music, movies, special guests. We're going to do our first episode on Friday, and it'll be every other Friday. We're going to just build that up. That's cool. And so Friday nights, this is where you're going to find us over there. And Jay, you should definitely be a guest on that show for every once in a while, because we're talking movies and music and stuff.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. Any opportunity to talk the arts. Yeah, that's great.
So right now it's just a YouTube presence that's the Playhouse Official, and you can find it on the front page of the Quite Frankly YouTube channel, right there on other channels. It's there with Set the Charge and Hogwash. So there you go. Yeah, we'll see you there on Friday night. I'll keep telling you guys about it. All right. So listen to this. Listen to this, sir.
Mm-hmm.
We have a what is this? U.S. to cancel billions. U.S. to cancel billions for West Coast hydrogen hubs amid shutdown. Now, listen to this. The Trump administration is planning to cancel billions of dollars earmarked for hydrogen projects in California and the Pacific Northwest. The move is part of a nearly $8 billion in funding eliminations for green energy projects in Democratic-leaning states, including wind, solar, and other energy projects. The Energy Department funding cuts has come as White House seeks to pressure Democrats to end the government shutdown. Now, this all kind of ties into some stuff that's going around on the internet right now, because government shutdowns, I think that it's been calculated to really only be putting 17% of the federal workforce on pause.
Right.
So 17% of a shutdown is way too little for me.
I wake up every morning going, oh yeah, there's a government shutdown.
Yeah.
I totally forgot.
Who the hell gives a shit?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's going on. May it never end. and
May it be permanent.
May it be permanent. Everybody, it's just like, I love how everybody's like, well, we need to come together or else they'll never reopen. It's like, that's not the goal for me.
Yeah.
They'd be very
They're
hard.
afraid, Frank. Let's be honest. They're afraid that people are going to realize that it doesn't matter. And then the mindset shift happens. You're like, so wait, we maybe we could, maybe there's not as much need for taxes. I mean, there's less things to pay for, and I'm not noticing any difference in my life. Maybe the government is bloated and overpopulated as it is.
Maybe it's more so that, maybe it's more so that it does matter, but in a different way. Maybe it matters that we notice how little we actually get.
I think that's what I was getting at. Yes, absolutely.
What's the return? It's not even an investment. We're not stockholders.
No.
We're just stolen from.
Exactly.
We're
victims.
It's patriotic extortion. And so, but anyway. So they're talking about all of this like Green New Deal type of stuff that's been kind of snipped and tucked and all that other stuff. And everybody I've seen a lot of people commenting, including some in my text messages, saying, hey, it just came out that there's been no hurricanes that have made landfall in the month of September for the first time since 2015.
Oh, no.
And I remember when Trump came into the picture and won the election in 2016, that they commented, Trump won, and with it came all of this leaving the Paris Accords and all that stuff. And then the hurricanes came back. You remember when the hurricanes came back?
I think I know where you're going with this.
Right. And it was because people like Jennifer Lawrence were just like, Gaia is upset with us.
Yeah.
God, Mother Earth is upset with us for electing the orange man.
Uh-huh.
So people are just like, it's very interesting that all this money is, a lot of money has been diverted away from the normal places. And suddenly we have a September without a hurricane. Not to say that there hasn't been extreme weather.
But maybe the people in the weather modification bunkers are staying home now.
and even though over here, I mean, I still see the trails in the sky and stuff like that. But a lot of people have said that since the government shutdown, they haven't seen nearly as much activity in the sky as far as trails go.
Well, this is the first poor weather day in October. I was commenting as I was walking through the graveyard the other day. This has been the most beautiful first week, clear, crisp skies in October and warm. And very noticeable. I mean, not that October doesn't do that, but I just remember noticing it. So that's interesting. Just something to keep in mind, Frank.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Have you seen? Has anyone? And I'll check into the general chats here. Have you guys seen any kind of a difference in what's going on in the skies above you since the shutdown, or I don't know, maybe even just before that as well? Put it in the chat room. I'll dip in there, see what the hell everybody's saying from time to time. So yeah, I've gotten that one. Cultivate Elevate. Matt from Cultivate Elevate even got in touch with me. He said, how funny is it that ever since the shutdown, I have not seen anything over my head over here in Arizona?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, look, we don't know the extent of all the things we think are going on. So it's interesting. It's a real-time experiment. You can consider the shutdown a real-time experiment.
Yeah. Well, people are saying that they haven't seen that much.
It's only been a week.
It's only anecdotal. Yeah. I'm in the chat room right now. But but still. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's one thing out of the way.
Okay.
Also, let me also just say that on Monday the 13th, I'm going to have Robin McCutcheon on, Dr. Robin McCutcheon on in the first half, just for a check-in. We haven't spoken to her in a while. And then in the second half, we're going to have an appearance by Tony Arterburn. So it's going to be a very economically driven night, coming from all different angles, and very well timed because gold is now at $4,100 an ounce.
Give me some of that silver.
Silver. That's the reason why this seems it's attracting a lot more attention than usual. Mm-hmm. Not only is gold breaking records as it has been for years now, but silver is like running alongside of it.
Yeah,
and that usually doesn't happen.
Right.
So we'll have plenty of commentary on that on Monday, just in case you think that it should be addressed right now. In the meantime, get yourself on a Wolfpack plan. That's quitefrankly.gold. You can start at whatever you want. It's probably the best thing you can do. Here's another one for you. Now I want to get into the Obamacare news. And this will just lead us everywhere else.
Okay.
So this is from the Wall Street Journal. Let the Obamacare enhanced premium subsidies expire. And then I'm going to get to a tweet that was put out there by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay.
I haven't seen this, so.
Listen to just a little bit of this. Congress is debating whether to let COVID-era Obamacare premium subsidies expire as scheduled at the end of 2025. These subsidies, costing taxpayers more than $400 billion over the next decade, have enticed higher-income Americans into unaffordable plans and distorted insurance markets. They belong in the dustbin of history. Affordable Care Act premium subsidies were originally available only to people with incomes up to 400% of the federal poverty level. In 2025, that was 62.6 thousand for a single person and 128,000 for a family of four. The Treasury Department transfers taxpayer funds directly to insurers to cap enrollees' premium contributions at a certain percentage of their income. Okay? Just first of all, I'm just sick to my stomach reading this because the Treasury Department is capping people's insurance income and contributions like that. Yeah. This is not your job.
I know.
So disgusting, man. Insurance is disgusting as it is, but government running. In March of 2021, at the height of the pandemic, the American Rescue Plan temporarily extended premium subsidy eligibility to those with incomes above 400% of the federal poverty level, allowing people at any income level to receive subsidies originally intended for those with modest means.
Wow.
In August 22, the Inflation Reduction Act extended those subsidies throughout December 2025.
The Inflation Reduction.
Yeah, well, this is where all of the economy is doing good. Price controls. You don't feel what's happening until you see what's happening here. Now, letting the subsidies go away merely restores the original Obamacare premium support structure. That preserves access to subsidies for low-income populations who already comprise 93% of the 24 million who get health care through the Obamacare exchanges. The expiration will affect roughly 1.6 million current enrollees. These are people with income above 400% of the poverty level. Okay, a family of four in Arizona making $600,000, a married couple in West Virginia making $580,000, and a single individual in Vermont making $180,000 all qualify for subsidies.
What?
Okay. Now here's the key paragraph. Simply put, since 2021, Congress has been bribing higher income Americans to purchase expensive Obamacare plans by hiding the plan's true price tags using taxpayer dollars.
Wow.
Premiums have increased by nearly 80% since 2014 and more than doubled since 2011. They are projected to rise another 15 to 20% next year, despite record taxpayer spending on premium subsidies exceeding $130 billion annually. Enrollees still pay average deductibles of $5,000 out-of-pocket maximums of $21,000, while 1 in 5 of their medical claims are denied. Without COVID-era premium subsidies, these plans would hold little appeal to consumers. Let me just tell you right here.
This is unbelievable.
The reason why I'm on Medishare, the reason why I said I need this, because I want Lauren to I want her to stop working the job that she was at. The job that she was at got us, we had health coverage through the pregnancy of Aurora's the time, in the hospital, things like that. But once that was out, she said, "Listen, I'd rather you be home. We can do this together. Help me with the show. We just rearranged ourselves." And the big question was health insurance. Said, well, let's go see, because it's not, the trade-off was not worth what the hell that was. First of all, they only gave her 2 weeks maternity.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that was the first time I went to go check out what the hell was going on in the marketplace. And I was looking at deductibles for a family of 3 that were above $14,000.
Wow.
Now, like, what the fuck? It's the first $14,000 of care I got to pay for. This is insured. What the hell is this? I don't know.
I mean, the financial side of it is disgusting enough, but then I always come back to because obviously that's not my wheelhouse. I know you've had some pretty good guests on that can unpack this in a much better way even than I can. But my focus is, what are you getting? Okay, let's say that you think that's a fair price to pay. Let's end that argument. I think that's fair. What kind of care are you actually getting? That's what I concern myself with. I don't even see the value for that kind of input from the consumer side. That's my big problem. I mean, Obamacare did a lot of terrible things. One of the things it did was stripping those independent doctors of their autonomy. So that's my biggest concern, is that how many times on this show have we put up graphs, whether it's macro stuff like life expectancy or individual chronic disease rates out of control, right? And I always say, this is societally poisonous, because who's going to care for people when now, kids are getting sicker at a younger age? We have to change the name of diseases because we need to now make sure that we are all inclusive with our diseases because now kids have them, right? But so who's going to take care of them societally when they're growing up sick and they can't even function as adults, so they don't have really any earning power? But physically, who's going to take care of them? Like the autism problem, right? Like that's going to become a serious, people don't realize all the people that want to tell you, oh, it's not this, it's not that. Listen, I don't care what it is. We need to make an honest effort to figure it out, because it is societally poisonous to allow that trend to continue. But then you look at the financial side of it. It's bankrupting the country. We spend 6 times, I believe, I haven't looked at the most recent numbers, but as of 2022, it was about 6 times as much on healthcare as we do on national defense. So it's unsustainable on multiple levels. So that's my concern. Obamacare is not giving us anything. It's ruining healthcare in this country. You can't even point to outcomes. Tucker Carlson used to say that all the time. I'm sorry, but if we're going to look at the dietary guidelines, shouldn't we be looking at outcomes to see if they're working? And then you go, oh yeah, I've looked at the outcomes and they're not good. So why are we still following them?
Yeah.
Then my whole thing is that it just comes down to care. If you want to pay through the nose for something, if you're getting the quality that you put in, then it's up to you whether you want to pay for that. But we're not getting that. So something has to change.
Yeah.
So I'm all for this. What did Marjorie Taylor Greene have to say about it?
Well, I mean, she was pretty much in line with a lot of what was in that article. She said the toothpaste, Obamacare, ACA, is out of the tube, trying to make it clear that I think the entire system is messed up. Health insurance is vastly unaffordable. For example, small business owners, family of 4, are paying insane monthly premiums of $2,000 plus with deductibles. That's the other thing.
Right.
It was the premiums were insane, and then the deductibles, as you said over here, $2,000 plus with deductibles of anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000, and the premiums keep going up every year.
Yeah.
Mainly because through one way or another, the system continues to cater to people who shouldn't even be in the country.
Wow, that's true. Yeah.
We're talking about tens of millions of people
Sure.
who are going to the emergency room for everything because they can't be denied, and they have an ache or they have a fever and they just want some Tylenol to be given to them, and then put it on my tab.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly what's
My
going
tab.
on. Hey, listen, that's why we don't have a hospital in our town anymore.
Right.
Grew up with the convenience of a hospital in town.
Yeah.
And anyway, healthy people pay $20,000 per year in insurance premiums and hardly get sick. And they are burning money wagering against the fear of what if I get into a bad car accident or get cancer and need health insurance. Yeah. That's the whole thing here, man. I think about what people in my life make if they weren't being taxed, and they're doing decent. But you would think that we're all underemployed.
I know.
You know,
those numbers were shocking in the article, like the poverty line numbers. I've never seen them before, I don't think, or maybe I haven't seen them recently. I was just kind of shocked.
It's incredible. Yeah. Now, friend of the show, Christy Laura Grace, she's been on to talk about a whole bunch of stuff before. She's fantastic. Yeah. She came on to talk about the gene. What the hell's it called? The gene again. Anyway, she's a clinician.
I've spoken to her on Twitter before. She's great. She's
wonderful, and she put this out there. She said, "At Representative Marjorie, I'm a clinician who provides care to people. This is what I found out. Number one, the lowest bronze, and this is what I was looking for, bronze. So whatever the hell I found, I'm thinking with the deductibles and the premiums, you can times that by 3 if I get the platinum or the gold or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
The lowest bronze insurance plan in our area is almost $800 a month, effectively worthless. The 2025 deductible on this was just over $1,000. Some of us got a peek at the same plan. The new 2026 deductible is $10,000. Wow. So insurance companies, we can't keep going on like this. She says we're at actual loss. Insurance is not medical care. It is protection against a protection against a loss. Car insurance is a protection against a loss. Many of us also remember when Obamacare first came on the scene and people with low income were being charged penalties for not getting insurance because they could not afford it. And then to add insult to injury, those people who rely on tax return money as their money is held through the year, they had their tax returns taken away from them for the IRS as penalties. I remember those were
absolutely.
They were garnished.
I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that started from my home state of Massachusetts with Mitt Romney. That, like, Obamacare is just like an extension of Mitt Romney's healthcare in Massachusetts, because I remember that when I was there and having to pay the penalties for not having health insurance.
Well, then let me ask you about this, because we've never talked about pre-existing conditions before. Now, I understand why it's an emotional thing to say we had to insure people with pre-existing conditions. Well, that is once again completely ignoring how we get to a point where there are so many people who have pre-existing conditions.
Well, yeah.
And how so many of our pre-existing conditions are lifestyle based.
Yeah.
And it's not even like really egregious, badly lived lives. It's just there are little things that we should know about our bodies that we're never taught in life. Exactly. And little bad habits over the course of a lifetime that we're just ignorant to that could pay dividends down the line. Oh. There's so many things that were screwed up, but now that we're just in a sickly state, they say, well, the pre-existing conditions. Well, then you're not talking about insurance anymore.
Right.
Because when you go to an insurance broker, you're making a bet.
Right.
Whether it's your car or your body, you're betting you're going to get into a car accident at some point. They're saying, I bet you won't. And how about we meet somewhere along the way, taking our risk factors, and here's a premium, and let's just all feel nice. We'll got you covered, but you feel covered, but we think everything's going to be all right. Same thing with health. There's no gamble. This is not health insurance. It's just, hey, come one, come all. Whatever's wrong with you, we're going to pay for it. And it may seem altruistic and nice, but it's not sustainable.
No, and all of this needs to proceed from a genuine place of truth. And this is why I think it's hysterical that clinicians or anybody out there are arguing about what RFK is trying to do. Again, all you have to do is look at the outcomes. We have been told X number of things that have been that have turned out to be incorrect. We have industries pushing on things, whether it's the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, all who profit from sickness, right? And one would also could infer that both of those two industries are sort of tied in together, right? Like the food industry continues to make fake foods, which make people sick, which makes them rely on pharmaceuticals. So like we're not even proceeding from a level playing field. I want people, if people want to make the decisions that lead them to ill health and then they are penalized because somebody doesn't want to cover them, that's a different argument than, like you said, we're renaming diseases because children are getting them. It's not because the children did anything wrong. It's because the parents are ill-educated. Most of us have no idea how the human body works. We're not being told. If we're being taught anything in health class, it's all kinds of weird stuff now. I mean, even when I was a kid, health class was like, it was okay. And it was at least more down the middle. I can't even imagine what they're being taught in health class today, right? When they test you for life insurance, they're looking at, or even other insurance policies, they're looking at your cholesterol levels. Like we don't even have an agreement on what's driving disease anymore. So I don't know how we get out of this, but I know that the situation we're in is not working. And again, we're not even proceeding from a place of truth, which is why I'm so in favor of RFK ripping the Band-Aid off all this stuff and saying, listen, we need to look at something like Tylenol. Hey, safe and effective. Is it really? What's the actual research show? Well, last time I was on, didn't I show you papers from years ago, 10 years ago, that were saying, hey, there's all kinds of problems here. But we just ignore that kind of stuff. And then when people get sick, we penalize them for it. So I see it from both sides, but I want people, which is why I do what I do. I just want people to have the information. What they do with it is up to them, but they're not being told the truth. So they're off on the wrong foot pretty much from the jump. And then when they have kids, their kids are off on the wrong foot from usually even earlier.
Well, I like how you put out that very key thing there about how we can't even come together on what's driving all of the issues.
Right.
And then I started thinking, I wonder. See, I need to get more input from the younger elements of this audience, especially anybody who is a little bit more in tune with what health class looks like today.
I'd love to hear from somebody like that.
In a high school, like I'm talking about high school setting health class.
Yeah, or maybe a teacher could let us know if they know anything.
It would be great because again, when you talk about that disconnect that we have as a society as it pertains to our inability to even discuss what the root cause of an issue is. We get so hung up on vocabulary, we never actually have the discussion that we got together to have. It's so ridiculous. But when so many things, when it's been made to be that so many things that affect a person health-wise is tied directly to what has now been made into an identity issue.
Exactly.
Then how do you ever teach to health objectively? If you can't be stern on what is healthy and unhealthy living, because an unhealthy way of life, no matter what the hell it is and how many different facets is brought into, God knows, a person could have several unhealthy habits that is just part of their day, and now it's a part of their identity.
Oh, of course.
And if they are suggested to change their ways, then it is, they're being shamed.
It's an assault on you. Yeah, Frank, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the website Campus Reformer. I think they're like a sort of like a university or college watchdog. They're always like blowing the whistle on the ridiculous things that universities in this country are doing. But they wrote a series of stories years ago about this whole push towards normalizing obesity. And they're creating all these words that all of us as clinicians who would say to somebody, you're clinically obese. That's a clinical term. There's a clinical definition for it. And we need to make some lifestyle changes or else you are increasing your risk of X, Y, and Z. Oh, well, now that's fat phobia and you're medicalizing people. And it's like, wow. So, that's where we are. That's where we are right now, which is why I'm in such favor of, all the pearl clutching about the things that are being removed from society, whether it's the military or whatever. We have to stop the nonsense. We cannot progress as a society if we are continuing to empower the delusion of people. We cannot progress as a society. Does that mean everybody's going to realize that they were wrong and have their come to Jesus moment and follow us along? No, absolutely not. I think, sadly, you're going to have to be willing to leave some people behind. They say leave no one behind. Well, we're going to have to leave some people behind because they have been indoctrinated so deeply that they truly do believe that their obesity is a badge of honor and that anybody trying to, ironically, I'm trying to rescue you from a lifetime of misery and potentially likely living a shorter life, but I'm the bigot. So I don't even know how to approach a conversation like that. To me, that's like a parent thing.
Yeah.
That's not my job. But that is where we are. And there are people like that in society, and universities are teaching it, which is why I'm also for pulling the federal funding from any of these schools that are teaching these absolutely insane things that are actually, a national security risk. Our youth being chronically ill to the degree that they are. How is that not a national security issue?
Well, like you said before, and many people have said it, you can say what you like about the military-industrial complex, for as bloated as our military spending is, and we know that the real spending is not even on the books.
Right. But it's dwarfed by healthcare.
But it's dwarfed by what you can call healthcare or the welfare industrial complex, because healthcare, like you said, has nothing to do with health. It has nothing to do with insurance, because it flies in the face of what insurance model actually is. There's no risk being taken. Mm-hmm. So it's just all welfare. And, so it's just, it's crazy in that respect. And I don't know.
The big joke is that they call it the healthcare system. It's neither healthy nor does it provide care, but it's definitely a system.
Yeah.
That's the way we look at it as clinicians. Which is why we do what we do, trying to give people an end around. Now, that puts us at great risk. Somebody comes in and something honestly happens, or they don't like something, they don't like the advice they're given, or something happens that has nothing to do with anything. You could see why people tiptoe around this. Now, to me, it's worth the risk, because otherwise we just get sunk, as a society. I keep coming back to this, but the chronic disease levels are unsustainable from a physical and societal perspective, but also from a financial perspective. So however you want to look at this, something has to change. And if you want something to change, you got to actually start changing things. And since I have the training to do it, I'm going to do it the best I can, but it's an uphill battle.
We're going to talk about that in just a second. Let's take a call, because I put out into the chat room. I want people to call if you have any modern day health class stories. 301, you're on the air. Do you have a modern day health class story?
Oh, maybe am I calling the right time here? This is Mark Denola. Hey, I wanted to say hi to you guys.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Yeah, okay, I'm on. This thing's delayed, so I didn't hear the last thing you guys were talking about because I turned my volume off. But I love meeting you guys, and I was going to just put my input into the dental part of controlling your health a little bit.
It's a big piece.
Want to talk about?
Yeah, you can give us your big thought on that, because I want to get a little bit. First, it was great meeting you too and hanging out with you as well at the Jamboree. But I wanted to get some modern day health class crazy lesson stories in here too. So, what's the dental aspect of this, you think?
Well, just a quick thing. I would just say between Jay's knowledge and what we should be putting in our mouths is really like the bottom line with some of the periodontal situations and the decay that we get going on. So anyway, that just reflects back to our livers through, mediators like IL-6 or interleukin-6. And, your buddy can talk about what happens to the liver and C-reactive protein and all these fun cytokines. But anyway, I don't know what I could talk about other than, my input here. Amalgams kill your health.
Mercury,
So people who are trying to get better health outcomes, they need to get rid of their mercury in their mouth. I always talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Jay, that and Mark, that would go toward another example of things that we might have been taught.
I'll tell you, Mark, and for the audience, I just was listening to last night an episode of the Dark Horse podcast with a dentist. So Mark, you might like this.
I love him. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the most recent one. I think they're on a little bit of a break, but he interviewed a dentist. I can't remember the guy's name. Fascinating conversation about the oral microbiome and some of the bacterial overgrowth that they're finding in the oral microbiome and how it's being transferred through the body. And they're finding it in some of the pathologies of diabetes, infecting the beta cells in the pancreas, and a variety of other, and heart disease, a variety of other things. So he's asserting that it's I fully concur. To what degree, I'm not sure, because I haven't studied it as much as he has, but that the oral microbiome is incredibly important. It can be a harbinger of future things to go on systemically in the body. So a great podcast if you're interested in that, with the most recent Dark Horse podcast. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great plug. they're identifying bacteria in Alzheimer's, prostate cancer,
Yes.
breast cancer.
Yes.
I mean, it's a crazy thing, but it's the terrain theory.
Yes.
Really, that's what I like to talk about
Yes,
with
it
you guys.
is.
But changing the terrain, changing the periodontal situation, and eating right. I mean, you're feeding the bugs that produce all those. The terrain matures into something very deadly. Like, I mean, you could have amoebas in your mouth, unbelievably.
Well,
but anyway, I love you guys. I love talking to you guys. I mean, I wish I was closer. I'd probably just show up there.
Yeah. Well, again, it was great to have met, and I mean, one day we got to get into some kind of a dental issue, a dental topic. I know people out there are wondering about it because I don't know. That's probably one of the least favorite places that anybody can think of is the dentist's office. But thank you, Mark. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Okay, brother.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy, Mark.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need to be white pilled on dentistry.
I mean, we could weave that into my original training was from Weston A. Price, and Mark knows Weston A. Price very well. He was a dentist who traveled the world in the early 1900s, and he was the one. You know, he was an integral part of understanding the connection between nutrition and health, discovering, helping push forward, like discovering vitamin K and X factors in foods and things that helped. He would study populations before they were touched by foods of Western commerce, he called it, and when they ate their native diet, whatever that diet was. And like I told you, there's a variety of different native diets. Some are higher in carbohydrate, some are higher in meat. That doesn't seem to be the differentiating factor. It seems to be when they're introduced to like white flour, grains, sugar, those things, that seems to be when they start to develop all of the things that we know as modern Western disease. It's not necessarily, so it's the processing of the food, not necessarily the macronutrient content. Now, today we're so broken that we have to be careful of the macronutrient content. A diabetic, even if they're eating whole foods, should not be eating boluses of sugar because they're already metabolically deranged. So even if it's like, well, I'm just eating fruit, well, that may not be good for you if you're already a diabetic. But given, again, a blank slate, it doesn't seem to be necessarily that it's the macronutrients are as important as the processing of the food. And that's what Weston A. Price discovered in the early 1900s. So,
Jay, it's little things like that. You're talking about fruit and it's just fruit. That's something, even something as basic as that people don't understand.
I know.
Here, kid, have another slice of melon. Oh, what? It's just fruit. It's healthy.
Right. It's in the middle of winter, right? So it's not seasonally appropriate depending on where you live. Plus, same thing with nuts, right? Fruit and nuts are very interesting. If you were to get them in nature, usually you would get them all concentrated in one sort of dose. You may gorge on them, right? But you're not going to have them 365 days a year by definition. And you're not going to be able to consume as many of them. It's just like nuts are the perfect example. I love this one because everyone's shelled pistachios, right? Such a pain in the ass, right? Especially the ones that don't have like the starter thing and you got to try to stick a butter knife in there. But now we sell shelled pistachio nuts. So you can just stick your hand in it like it's a backhoe and just start, and it's so, but even the process of cracking open an almond is very different than eating just a bag of already shelled almonds. You're going to eat way more if they're already shelled. When you think about it, that's processing. Yeah, it's a technicality, but in the natural discovery of food in the wild, you are going to be inhibited by effort, by location, by a variety of things that you are no longer encumbered by at the most successful hunt in the history of man, the supermarket.
It's true.
It's
true. We go hunting at the supermarket.
And we always are successful.
We always win.
So I think that's important to consider. Which
and
is
a,
what
and,
my
a
mind
bo- and a
always
box
does.
of strawberry shortcake rolls is only...
And it's not the same as the wild strawberries.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's take 817. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, this is Cloud9.
Hey, Cloud9, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Jay if he had saw the video of a famous YouTuber, podcaster, Chris Williamson. He recently released a video, I think it was about an hour long, detailing his health journey, which basically, long story short, he has Lyme disease, and it was through mold exposure, and combined with a whole bunch of other types of, environmental factors, this created a concoction where he's basically, able to get so much treatment, and he's trying what would be, not conventional medicine, but I think he was also diagnosed with chronic lymphatic leukemia, and he's under the care of MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Okay.
And I believe he underwent something called hypoxygenation in Vienna, which involved raising his body temperature to 104 degrees Fahrenheit while his blood was treated.
Wow.
So I just wanted to see if Jay, you actually had any insight on that, in particular to mold exposure, because we can talk about food and the problems with, overprescribing a whole bunch of medications, and it disrupts the autoimmune system. But when it comes to environmental factors, like how much does that play into it? And I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are.
Man, that's a great question.
Thank you, Cloud9.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the story, but I definitely want to understand that. Lyme is incredibly complex and difficult to treat, but I think it plays a bigger role than most people realize. And one of the functional tests that Jen and I use is called an OAT. It's an organic acid test, so it's a urine test that actually measures metabolites of biochemical reactions in the human body. What's so cool about an OAT is that it's completely different than any of your standard blood work. If you looked at a note, it would seem like a foreign language to most people. And I only know that because when we studied it in school and we would take whole semesters on it, it looked like a foreign language to me when I was like, what are these words? And then you start to put all the pieces together and you realize, so it's the byproduct or metabolite of a certain chemical reaction. And based on whether it's high or low, you can determine if there's a vitamin, mineral deficiency, if there's a bacterial overgrowth, a fungal overgrowth, a mold exposure, DNA damage, a whole bunch of things. And we've run it on several people that were part of the beta program. It's a fascinating test and it can give you a lot of information. So those are the kinds of things that I like to run on people that have sort of like mystery illnesses and things that are hard to understand, because the blood sometimes doesn't tell you everything. Now, it can be a great adjunct, but an organic acid test can give you some of that. So I would say for a lot of people, it does play a huge role. And that goes back to what Mark was saying about terrain theory. Some people can be exposed. So in one home, you can have mold. And some people in the house will be relatively unaffected by it. And other people will be incredibly incapacitated by it, similar to like food poisoning. You could all eat from the same plate, but some people end up with the symptoms of food poisoning and some people don't. I've seen all of those things. So that begs the question, terrain theory has to be real. And I'm just sort of playing devil's advocate. It's absolutely real. But the question is, how much of a Venn diagram is there between germ theory and terrain theory? And I know some people don't think germ theory exists at all. I'm not in that camp, at least not yet. But terrain theory is so incredibly important, and probably more important, because the more you pay attention to that, the better you handle your microbiome and all of your microbiomes, not just your gut, but your oral microbiome, every microbiome, the better chance you have, because we live in a symbiotic world with these bacteria, the better chance you have of keeping certain things at bay. There are commensal bacteria that would be considered pathogenic if only they were outgrown beyond the place where they should be, but they're held in check by other bacteria. So there's incredible dance that goes on, and a lot of the foods we eat, the chemicals that we're exposed to, they create that imbalance, which causes what we call symptoms.
Like it's essentially the nuance, the crazy amount of layers that you put onto the pH conversation we had.
Yes, absolutely.
How pH and alkalinity is not the silver bullet you think.
No, because all this, remember when I went through it, all the systems have a different pH level.
Right.
Urine pH, completely different than salivary pH, which is completely different than esophageal, stomach, lower GI, small intestine, large intestine. All the pH is all different. So how can you tell me that there's supposed to be a uniform pH? And in fact, there are mechanisms in the body to hold those pH levels consistent, or else we die. So it's like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
No, let's take one more call, then we will. Remember, everybody, in the second half. We're almost at the second hour right now, but we're going to be talking. I have to talk about Amelia Earhart.
Oh yeah,
because the FBI has been ordered to release whatever documents they have on that. And then also I have a JFK question I have to ask you.
Frank, is it my birthday already?
Yes. Yeah, soon, right?
Soon, yeah.
Soon. Anyway.
Everybody knows I love JFK almost as much as I love the mitochondria.
Yeah, I know. JFK and mitochondria go together. 828, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, it's Rob Worth.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
I'm okay.
All right.
Jay still on the line with you?
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
Where's he going?
Frank has me chained to the chair.
So, Jay, Frank knows my story. I lost my daughter to suicide 3 years ago.
I'm sorry.
And I lost my wife in May. She just died one day. She was 54. This is kind of a health question, but I know it's a little off topic, but I have been drinking and smoking literally every night after work. 5 or 6 beers at 9%, the IPAs and American Spirit. I don't know. Am I going to live long?
Well, I would ask. There's a lot of questions I would ask in a more private setting.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously, everybody deals with grief in a different way. But let me ask you, how do you feel, with the drinking and the smoking? How does it make you feel physically, and how does it make you feel emotionally?
I don't wake up hungover or anything. Probably because my tolerance is high.
Sure.
I will say I've not been sick at all in the 3 years after my daughter left, and I find that kind of odd. But I see a psychiatrist, just, because if I had suicide ideation like my daughter did, and so I'm on medication for that. And I don't know. It gets me through, and my psychiatrist is not telling me to stop drinking. I mean, everybody I talk to, it's like, I tell them what's going on and what I'm doing, and they're like, well, you're just dealing with your grief, and it's just like, I don't feel like anybody's getting ready for an intervention on TV or something.
That's strange.
So,
That's I wonder what holds a psychiatrist or anybody that's supposed to be giving you some mental support or any kind of a psychiatric support in that way. I just wonder what keeps them from tackling that. I mean, that's a hindrance to making lasting.
I agree. And let me make an analogy. So you said you hadn't been sick. This is a very interesting phenomenon. Sometimes when we are trapped in a sympathetic dominant state, meaning the fight or flight, right? The central nervous system is trapped in sympathetic mode, fight or flight. That can actually suppress the immune system. You know that phenomenon where people say, I work my ass off and then I finally take a vacation and I get sick.
Yeah.
That phenomenon, in my opinion, has a lot to do with the parasympathetic shift towards the rest and digest, and the body can actually start to do some of its cleanup processes. If you're trapped in a sympathetic dominant state, very often the body will triage what's the most important, which is keeping you alive. And so the immune system can suppress a lot of things for a long time. I'll tell you for sure, the smoking and drinking is not helping you physically. Now, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm glad that you're seeing somebody, but physically it's not helping you. And there's no telling how good you could feel, or to go back to that analogy, it's possible that the cigarettes and alcohol are also delaying the actual healing process that needs to happen emotionally and physically. So I would say you need to do a little bit of soul searching and figure out how important it is to you to be at that point where you're now starting to deal with all of that, so that you can be the healthiest version of yourself and you can, pick up those pieces. Because that's obviously an incredibly traumatic event, both of them. But I want to see everybody I ever work with be as optimal as possible. And I'll tell you that the alcohol and the smoking, they're definitely not helping you. And I wonder if you're feeling okay now because they're helping you stay in that sympathetic state. And I think maybe to really heal, you need to be shifted into that parasympathetic state.
Which means in English?
Yeah, sorry, I have that problem sometimes. Well, I think it's for you. It's like you want to decide how much you want to get into that healing process, and then maybe you start by just reducing, right? Like I never tell anybody to go cold turkey, but maybe you just start slowing down and you start finding other ways to cope as well, right? Like taking nature walks, whatever you did before the smoking and drinking that made you feel good, whether that was exercise, whether that was bowling, golfing, nature, whatever it is, find the things that you love so that we're not just taking away, we're adding at the same time we're taking away. But really understand that those things are actually very much likely holding you back from true healing, which is what I want to see you do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, Rob, I think most of all, what that all comes down to is, for me, from you're just talking now you're just having a bar conversation with a guy. Okay, that's
I'll leave the room.
This is just the bar conversation. I'm pulling for you to be able to reduce and not need it as much, so that you could have a little bit more of a clear path to a new purpose. Because that's many times in everybody's lives, there's just going to be devastation is something that comes for all of us, and the real question is purpose. You're never going to really walk away from that hurt and everything else, but you can button up and you can find new purpose, and you pour yourself into that, and we just we can at least get to the next lily pad together.
And the last thing I'll say, Rob, is that, again, and obviously absolutely no judgment at all, but it is incredibly important to know that your body also has an incredible ability to heal. So what you first asked was, am I going to die? What I would say is, the sooner you quit this, the better, because the body can do some amazing things. So give it that chance. Give it the chance to heal and see what happens, okay?
Okay.
Well, Rob, stay in touch as always, Rob. And I think that you should pay attention to what Jay. Actually, it's the halfway point. So I'd like Jay to talk about this new, real quick, instead of an intermission. I want him to talk about this new phase that his health practice is actually going into, and perhaps that's something that would be appealing to you. So, but thank you for the call, and thank you for always being so honest with us.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Take care. Well, Jay, we've talked about exploding Obamacare costs as the system implodes. We've talked about, of course, what healthcare is or isn't again.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an example of people who are looking to heal in ways that are sometimes not always physical.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you got going on right now, because what little I know is that your practice is moving out of the beta stages that you've been working on the last year and a half, and now you're opening it up to the audience a little bit more. So what is this?
Yeah. I mean, so Jen and I have been working really hard since January when we started the beta program, and we weren't really sure what it was going to be. Originally it was just going to be just seeing people as clinicians, but we realized, 43 people signed up for the beta program, which was incredible. But when you think about the in-depth and detail you need to go into with somebody, I mean, even just Rob's call, I mean, imagine trying to do that plus get all of the labs in order, trying to get the full medical history. I mean, it took hours upon hours upon hours. We would work 7 days a week and still not be having the same impact that we wanted to have. So we decided after the beta program, which was only supposed to be 3 months, but it ended up going all the way into now the fall. And we decided to change the focus to education and also significantly reduce the price. And so the reason I wanted to mention this today, so you guys can go to the website. So the website is healthreclamationproject.com.
It's in the description of the episode.
Yeah.
But this is it.
So if you go there and you just click on the membership tab, and this is going to be running for the rest of the month of October. So you go to the membership tab and then just join our community. And that price right there is the normal community price. But everybody who's listening to this show and has this, use the code FALL45, FALL, like the season, FALL45, and that's going to reduce the price lifetime to $45. And this is an opportunity to bring you guys into all the education that we do. And if you scroll down, you see, right, you get access to the community, which is, again, going to Rob's call. How much would community help people who are struggling with physical things, but also emotional things, right? Having a team of other people that are going through things, having Jen and I there, like interacting on a daily basis. Once a week, we do live Q&As. We're actually going to try to do it more than once a week, but right now we have been committed and we're not doing it on Quite Frankly time. I just want everybody to know we specifically scheduled it around the show Quite Frankly so that we would never interfere. In fact, we have to sometimes get off really quickly because I'm like, Frank's going to be on. I can't keep you guys over 7 o'clock.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, that's nice of you.
Yeah, and you're going to get access to all kinds of educational material. The idea is to put you guys in the driver's seat of your health. So education through video format, through written format, through live Q&As. the community is pretty small right now. So you get in now and you're able to ask Q&As. Like tomorrow, I'm going to be doing the live Q&A. So you're going to get to
How
sit
long?
on the
How long do you go live for?
minimum an hour.
Okay.
So you can just sit there, and I'll give a presentation for maybe like 20 minutes, and then I'll just field questions. Now, sometimes there's more questions, sometimes there's less. Sometimes we just do a full Q&A because people have so many questions. And the idea is the larger the community gets, the more we're going to do these. So every week, they're Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, that they go to 6 to 7. But then I'm going to just randomly pop in on a Saturday night or whenever, and just be like, anybody want to talk about anything? If you're on, you can do it. You're going to get discounts on labs. You're going to get discounts on supplements. You're going to get access to research peptides. All the things we talk about on the show, so we're trying to make a full, you're also going to get discounts on services. So in other words, if you want to do a one-on-one, right, you'll get that at a discounted price. And that's the whole switch that we made. We made the switch to an educational kind of community and dropped the price significantly because we wanted more people to be able to come in, because $45 a month feels like less than a cell phone bill. But they get access to us and they can ask questions, and they're going to get all of the material we have, and the material is going to be updated constantly. Then if they really want to say, you know what, but I want to sit down and do like a full intake. Okay, well, you'll get a discount on that, right? We're going to do.
Okay, so there is an option there for people who want to have one-on-one.
Yes.
Because what you wanted to do was be able to create that across the board, but you realized that it was just way too much.
Yeah, it was never going to happen
for the two of you to be able to handle.
Right. So what we call it is education first with a clinical option. Because some people aren't going to want to necessarily do the clinical thing. Because you can get a lot of information on your own just by attending the weekly Q&As and just by reading the material and, looking at all the videos that we're making. I just made a 20-minute video on Nutrition 101.
Cool.
So like you'll be able to do that kind of stuff, and we're continuing to create the content. So that's the idea. By the way, there's no commitment, there's no contract. It's fall $45. You stay in it as long as you want. You leave whenever you want. It's just a way for us to try to make this accessible to as many people as possible at the cheapest price possible. And ultimately, we want to do this as a living. Like I would love to quit my corporate wellness job to do this for your audience and for the general public. And so this is our first foray into this, and hopefully, people find value in it. But that's what we're doing.
Well, you deserve it, man, and people deserve to feel good. So
I couldn't agree more. The people that we have helped in the beta program have been, it's really creating a family. And by the way, obviously we're going to bring you and Lauren in there if you guys want to hang around in the community. We just really want, because everyone's got questions about health, but sometimes it's just nice to interact with other people who are like on a health journey, even if you're in a completely different place. Gives you perspective on things. You'll see people who are a lot sicker than you. You'll see people who are a lot healthier than you. And so it like pushes you to move forward, and it also makes you realize how far you've come. So there's just a lot of benefit, a lot of support, a lot of education, a lot of empowerment. And that's the whole idea.
Well, a salute.
Yeah, man.
Well, there you go. That is the healthreclamationproject.com. The description is in the episode. The link is in the episode description. Fall 45 is the promo. Okay.
And we're going to run that sucker all the way through the month of October. So even if you're if it's Halloween night and you're like, oh no, I'm eating a bunch of candy, I think I need to go see Jay at the Health Reclamation Project, you can still get into $45.
You know what? Halloween night, I actually have a night off on Halloween night. And
it's a Friday, right?
It's a Friday. So, but what I'm thinking is, because my father's having a Halloween party, I'm thinking that maybe if the internet is strong enough at my father's house, I set up a version of what I had going on at the retreat in Martha's Vineyard.
Oh yeah,
I go live from the Halloween party.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of freaks there.
Absolutely.
So that would be something. I'm thinking about it.
I mean, yeah, everyone loves to see you in a different environment. That Martha's Vineyard live stream was a big hit from what I remember.
I know. And I was holding the webcam.
We were passing it around, and we were passing around the microphone. It was so lo-fi, but it was great.
Holding the webcam in my hand. Ridiculous.
Remember we were running around looking for an Ethernet cable that whole day?
I know. On
the island of Martha's Vineyard, where they can charge you up the nose for everything.
Yeah. Well, there's only one hardware store in the whole town.
Seriously.
And forget about it.
It was great.
Anyway, we got some super chats here, and then we're moving on to Amelia Earhart. Take a listen to this first. Stowe Soup says, hey, just dropping off a little bit of support for the show tonight, and what a great night for it. J Gulinello in the house. I love Giuseppe G nights. Thank you, Frank. Well, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Paul says, hey, Frank, welcome back. It's always a fantastic show when Jay is on. Loving how hard the drums are hitting in the new intro. I just wanted to throw a little appreciation your way. Take care, Frank. Well, thank you, Paul. The dynamic duo returns, says Jay Britz. Thank you. Shotzi says, great to have Quite Frankly back in the living room. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Shotzi.
Good evening.
Aaron, 23, says, I want that blanket. This show is top-notch, always a wealth of info, and I love the Kathy O'Brien and G. Edward Griffin episodes. Keep fighting the good fight, Frank. You are an inspiration. Well, that I really appreciate that. And I reminded my video editing team today, hey, we still have not gotten any good clips out of G. Edward Griffin's last appearance on the show. It was fantastic. Whatever you do, don't take any clips that have to do with apricot seeds. Just no apricot pit seeds, whatever. No clips like that on YouTube, please, because apparently that's worse than death. Incredible.
Makes
but
perfect sense.
I know. No, it's just terrible. Oh, you know what? The other thing I heard about that with the B17, I was talking to Cultivate Elevate, Matt from Cultivate Elevate. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me that it's not just apricot pits, but it is all so-called stone fruits. Yes. So like plums, cherries, all of those pits, the inside of them, the seeds, they're high in B17.
Yeah, I don't know how you get them out of there must be some process to get them out of, because you can't chew a plum pit. Apricot seeds are like, I believe they look similar to almonds and they're hard, but you still chew them. I don't think you can chew a plum pit, right?
No. I think the whole point is you got to crack them open.
Yeah.
And get the seed inside.
Okay.
And not the actual pits.
I've never done that.
I don't know. But Matt told me that he has like a handful a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stone fruits, he called them. I didn't even know that there was a distinction.
Yeah. B17, amygdalin.
Yeah. Well, stop saying it.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's part of the brain, the amygdala.
Yeah. The Car Guys New England says, great show, Frank. I hope you had a great mini vacation. Jay is always a great guest. Yeah. Like I said, twice. I've got Jay down for 2 appearances a month at minimum. And if there's ever an emergency or something that I need, Jay, you got to come back. Well, then we'll see. He can negotiate the price at that point. Okay, let's see. Over on Rumble, we've got Awakened Boomer says, hey, Frank, hi, Jay. What happened to your Fu Manchu facial hair? You rocked it. What?
Me?
Who, you?
You must be talking to you.
Jay, what happened to your Fu Manchu facial hair? You rocked it.
Oh. I have a beard sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah, you probably haven't. Not on the show. Usually I shave when I do like a show or do an interview or something.
But a Fu Manchu?
No, I didn't have that.
I don't know. He might be thinking of somebody else.
That's just the thing right there.
I think it comes all the way down, but there's nothing underneath.
Yeah, usually I grow the full beard.
Really?
Yeah. You never seen pictures of me with a beard?
No, I don't think so.
I'll show you some. Actually, never mind. Moving on.
Anyway. All right. Let's. What, Freddie Mercury?
Well, there's a picture out there in the internet world of me. Somebody put me next to Freddie Mercury there because I had headshots at some point with a beard because I needed pictures of me with a beard. So somebody put a picture of Freddie next to me. I have a full beard. Freddie just had the mustache, but it's funny.
Okay.
So it's out there on the internet.
We'll see it. I've never seen you look scraggly when you come in here.
No, I usually don't when I come in here.
Jay Semo says, welcome back. Great show as usual. So there you go. Yeah. I'm loving it. Okay. Let's see. Now listen to this. Listen to this. The FBI employees have been ordered to immediately search for records related to Amelia Earhart, sources say.
Interesting.
The Trump administration has ordered FBI employees in Washington, D.C. and New York to immediately search their workstations and digital media for any records pertaining to the disappearance of Amelia Earhart, 2 law enforcement sources told CNN. Employees at the FBI's D.C. and New York field offices received a highly unusual message from their leadership flagged with high importance.
Wow.
High importance.
All of a sudden.
Yeah. Tuesday, telling them, quote, per a priority request from the Executive Office of the President of the United States, please search any Any areas where papers or physical media records may be stored to include both open or closed cases for records responsive to Amelia Earhart.
Wow.
FBI employees were given a priority deadline of Wednesday to respond to the request, which comes on the 7th day of an ongoing federal government shutdown.
So I wonder if that has anything to do with
Had
it.
to throw that in there.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, this is one of those, like, I don't even know the conspiracies because the ocean is so big. I just assumed that, I saw one of the best videos I've ever seen on this, recounted the whole thing, and there was all kinds of interesting details that I never knew about in terms of radio communication back then and how it was done and what her plane was equipped with and time zone differences and all kinds of things that I was like, oh, well, I mean, it makes sense that her plane just went down in a vast ocean and they never found it. I never really thought about it. But if Donald Trump is saying immediately we need, I don't know, it makes me think somebody knows something, right?
And you know that Josh Campbell at CNN wrote it in this respect because he's like, why the high priority for Amelia Earhart when we are in the 7th day of a shutdown? People are we don't have a.
Dear God.
What
are we gonna do?
I know, but here there's a little bit more. Earhart was attempting to become the first woman to fly around the world when her plane went missing over the Pacific in 1937. She was declared lost at sea following a 16-day search. President Donald Trump last month said he was directing his administration to declassify and release all government records. Her disappearance, quote, almost 90 years ago has captivated millions. I am ordering my administration to declassify and release all government records related to Amelia Earhart, her final trip, and everything else about her. Now, here's the thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, anything, this is what normal people will ask themselves. Why is there need to classify? When you hear something's been classified, first thing you go to is national security.
Right.
So what would be the national security implications of people knowing the truth about Amelia Earhart?
Yeah, I mean, maybe she wasn't what she was purported to be in the media. Like, she wasn't just a female aviator. She was a spy. She was something else, right? That's the only thing I can think of, because why else would you classify anything? Well, she wasn't flying experimental vehicle, unless she was, right? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I went and I got myself a list.
Okay, good.
A small list of theories
all right,
that surround Amelia Earhart's disappearance.
I'm a sucker for stuff like this, by the way. I love conversations like this.
You know what we're going to get into soon then?
What?
Helen Keller.
There's something about her?
The Helen Keller hoax? You never heard about this? The dude.
Was she not deaf, dumb, and blind?
There is a lot. There's a lot.
What?
People get crazy in opposition to each other on whether or not Helen Keller was a hoax.
Whether her whole existence?
No, that she was alive, but because speaking of planes, I think that she flew a plane. Helen Keller flew a plane.
What?
Yes.
Okay, I have no idea about any of this. This is great. Bring it on.
Ladies, everybody in the chat room, didn't Helen Keller supposedly fly a plane?
That would throw a monkey wrench into the idea that she was blind. No, I'm just going to go out there on a limb.
Yes. No, there is Helen Keller is not settled.
Was she flying Amelia Earhart's plane?
I'm saying, I'm telling you. This is not, you think, these are the things that you grow up with. And when you realize that things like Helen Keller are not even settled in the court of public opinion, that there's a lot of people who said, nope, that whole thing is. Now, as far as the reasons why something like that would be concocted and fed to the public and turned into movies and all. I mean, we watched the Helen Keller movie. What was it called? Miracle Worker.
Yeah,
The Miracle Worker.
Watch it in school, right? I feel like we.
Yeah.
Wow.
With the big food fight scene and all that stuff.
Given everything that we have come to uncover over the years, there is nothing anymore that I won't at least entertain. I'm not going to necessarily believe it, but I'm no longer going to say, that's ridiculous, Like, just, all right, present your best argument. Go ahead.
Well, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Because above all, I need to know exactly what the value of that PSYOP would be.
Right, because you have to have a motive for it, yeah.
Right, you have to have a motive for it. There's a lot of it.
Yeah,
there's a lot. But with Amelia Earhart,
wow. Okay.
Here are some of the theories that I found. Main theories about Amelia Earhart's death tied to declassification hopes, all right? Number one, that it was Japanese capture and execution.
Okay, I can see
The
that.
Tokyo Rose or Saipan theory. This is one of the most popular conspiracy theories, positing that Earhart and Noonan landed or crashed in Japanese-controlled territory in the South Seas Mandate. That's either Marshall Islands or Saipan, and were captured as suspected U.S. spies amid rising pre-World War II tensions. They were allegedly interrogated, imprisoned, executed, possibly by dysentery, starvation, or firing squad. A 2017 History Channel documentary highlighted a National Archives photo from Jolay Atoll? Jalui Atoll?
Are you trying to guess my first name?
I know Bikini Atoll.
This must be another atoll.
Yeah, but purportedly showing Earhart and Noonan in custody.
Oh, interesting.
Now, why declassifications? Advocates believe U.S. intelligence knew of the capture but suppressed it to avoid diplomatic fallout with Japan before Pearl Harbor.
I mean, that's reasonable.
It is reasonable, but when you also read into other economic embargo history and everything else like that, you can say that they were doing everything they could to get Japan to bomb Pearl Harbor.
Of course.
So,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
you can go both ways with this.
Yes, you can.
Declassified files would include intercepted Japanese communications, post-war interrogations, or Navy reports from the $4 million search that allegedly overlooked evidence. That's the number one theory.
Those are my favorite kind of searches.
I know.
The ones that overlook evidence. We have a lot of those.
Due.
Okay.
U.S. government spy mission gone wrong.
Okay.
Perhaps it was the spy mission.
Yeah, totally plausible.
Okay. So why declassification? Well, it hinges on hidden FDR era documents. But again, what is it? What value do we have right now?
Right. World War II. Right. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, other than the fact that it's like everything with the government, once they do something, they never undo it unless they're forced to.
There's also a survival as castaways on Nikamororo.
Definitely heard that one before.
Gardner Island hypothesis.
Yeah, definitely heard that one.
Yeah. Unable to find Howland Island, Earhart and Noonan veered 350 miles south to Nikamororo. Crash landed on the reef and survived as castaways for weeks or months before succumbing to injury, dehydration, or exposure.
Sure.
The International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery supports this, citing post-disappearance radio signals, July 7th distress call heard in Canada,
Oh, that's interesting.
and artifacts like makeshift aluminum patch, bone fragments analyzed in 2018 as matching Earhart's build.
Now,
And
I wouldn't even say that's a conspiracy theory. That could just be an alternate, they said she was lost at sea. Well, but that doesn't even, that could be the same thing.
they also found freckle fried potatoes, a snack that she favored.
Well, that seals it for me.
That seals it. So I don't know. There you have it. Now,
Okay.
the less common theories with declassification ties: post-war return and new identity, which is essentially like the Challenger astronauts. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, that is crazy.
Because you could say it's nuts, but why the hell is it that there's so many?
I know. I know. I mean, yeah.
These people, I see the so-called modern pictures, like the school teacher yearbook pictures of who was supposedly. I mean, some of the astronauts didn't even change their names. Apparently,
I know. It is weird to have people that look exactly alike with the same name.
yeah.
That's weird. Yeah, I know. I mean, Amelia Earhart was very famous, so I mean, I don't know how plausible that is necessarily, but maybe.
Yeah.
What would be the reason, though? Again, you'd have to go back to was she a spy? I mean, there had to. What would have been the reason to fake a death?
Well, all that is bullshit anyway, because we have the real how this really happened with Amelia Earhart.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah, this was released not
this
too
is
long
actual
ago.
footage.
Yeah, I guess what they're trying to see here. Well, let's just watch it. Here we go.
Okay.
Well, I've just about flown us around the world. We're over the Pacific, not a cloud in sight. 1937 style cruising at its finest.
Do you mind if I, Amelia Earhart, try flying for a sec?
Sure thing.
Oh no.
Well, I've just
So I guess what they're doing now is they're just trying to figure out if all the declassifications line up with the evidence that we've just stumbled upon.
Frank, you broke news here today. That is fantastic. Well, I did hear this is just, it might be a little controversial, but actually this was from another female aviator that I had read something. It's so interesting this is coming up now because I was telling you earlier this year, I had stumbled across some Amelia Earhart stuff. And I'm just a sucker for a good mystery. And I was reading this article written by an aviator, and she was saying it's most likely lost at sea because, to be honest, Amelia Earhart was much better with the press than she was as a pilot. Like that, you know, like the story's been built up that she's some incredible pilot. Just because she was attempting something daring doesn't mean she was a brilliant pilot. This female aviator herself was saying, I'm not so sure she was as good as people think she was. So again, knowing nothing about flying, I could not make that assessment.
Yeah, and let me just say that if Amelia Earhart was not as good of a pilot as everybody said she was, and she's still better than I am.
Absolutely better than I am. You know, I would trust her in the cockpit before I would trust myself.
Well, speaking of that, I have another. That reminds me of another funny.
News.
I love this one. FaceTiming your family from the runway when you see that your plane has a female pilot.
Daddy.
Hi, Gracie. Hi, honey.
Grace, I know I promised you I was coming home.
I don't understand.
Looks like I'm gonna have to break that promise.
Getting right off the plane. Oh, no.
Oh, man. Oh, that's funny. Well, so do we have a deadline for these declassified documents? Like, when are we going to know about this?
I mean, it was supposed to be today. Today's Wednesday.
Oh.
Today's Wednesday.
Okay.
I don't know. I
don't know. I mean, look, at that time, like you said, World War II, pre-World War II time, I mean, anything is possible that my mind first went there. If it's declassified, then she was on some secret mission, or there was some, so this flight around the world was just a ruse, right? For the press, for the public, but there was something else going on, and that's, and it ended badly, potentially.
Liv Tyler was so cute
back then. Remember she cut her hair?
Then she became an elf.
That was bad luck.
Bad luck. She played a good elf. She played a good elf in Lord of the Rings.
I'm going to say this out loud, but I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for it. I've never actually seen Lord of the Rings. I tried to watch it a couple times, but the first one was a lot of walking, and I kept falling asleep.
It is a very tiring film.
I've tried twice to watch it. And
I get you.
And I have a good attention span. I don't know. Maybe I just chose the wrong time of day to try to watch it. This was years ago.
I get it.
I never made another attempt.
It could be a kind of sleepy film.
Okay. Just the first one? Like if I got past the first one, would the rest
of them? No, they walk even longer.
Oh God. Okay, they get worse.
And then by Return of the King, you're so tired. You're so tired.
That's what it was.
Because then it's not only just a long walk, but then you're climbing these sharp mountains.
Oh boy.
And you're crawling your way to a lava pit.
Okay.
And it's just, I can't do it anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to get through them. I just haven't been able to.
Well, I one day.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. Anyway, Liv Tyler. That was that. I don't know.
Empire Records. Remember Empire Records? Remember that?
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Yeah. That was a good time for movies.
Yeah, it was.
So I don't know when we're going to get any of this stuff. Trump has previously ordered the release of documents related to other high-profile deaths that have sparked conspiracy theories, including records related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I know. And
when you actually study RFK's assassination, you realize that's even crazier closed case that it was not Sirhan Sirhan. If you actually, I haven't studied it nearly as in detail as I have JFK, but I did probably spend a good couple of months obsessing about it and like digesting every, video, documentary, book, research paper. It is just so clear from the Thomas Noguchi, the coroner, who said he was killed from a shot from behind with a gun barrel about an inch away from the back of his head. And Sirhan Sirhan never even got within 3 feet of in front of him. So explain that one. And even RFK, to the point where RFK was advocating for the release of Sirhan Sirhan, he's so convinced that's not the guy who killed his father.
Yeah.
Wild. And we all just go, oh yeah, Sirhan Sirhan was the guy.
Well, he's never changed his whole
No, he doesn't remember
recollection of anything or lack thereof. No recollection.
Yeah.
It's spooky. It really is. But, let me ask you this, because I know, you and I have not had time to discuss this yet. I don't even think that we've even chatted about it off air. But you being a JFK assassination aficionado, what are your thoughts on Charlie Kirk from the standpoint of outrageous official stories alone? I mean, I know Candace Owens, there's no in between with her.
No.
It's either you absolutely love what she's doing, you're tipping your cap, or you think that she's just a crazy attention whore or something. It's crazy. I don't know. It's one or the other. So I don't know what you think about this, because I saw the text messages and all that stuff that's been coming out. But what do you think?
I don't even know where to begin. I just like to absorb a lot of things. And I think the advantage of studying the Kennedy assassination, it's so interesting to me to watch people jump to conclusions when they should learn the lessons of history and kind of be like, I'm going to sit back a little bit here. And that's what I've really been doing. I really haven't said anything to anybody. I'm just trying to absorb a lot of things. But there are obviously, right away, it's a lone nut. We got the lone nut. And if you ask any questions, there's something wrong with you, right? And then they say even weirder things like you're an anti-Semite, which is like comical. It's like, what? I don't even know why that comes into the picture. But I understand that those are some of the conspiracy theories, but I don't understand why automatically questioning anything makes you that. But regardless, so you got the lone nut thing. You've got all kinds of conflicting stories. You've got strange goings on, like tampering with the crime scene, like rebuilding the entire crime scene. I mean, that's what it was.
It's like the amphitheater area.
They rebuilt the whole thing.
I know, immediately.
Why?
It was the same kind of rapid response that we got when they blew up the Guidestones.
Yes. Interesting, huh?
It was the same rapid response.
Yeah, bizarre.
They just bulldoze. I don't know anybody. There can be a dynamite attack even if it was in an isolated field somewhere in Georgia. There's a dynamite attack of a very controversial spot, and the investigation was wrapped within 6 hours.
All set.
Haul it away.
And we don't have a name, but there was a car that drove by. We have that on video, but no one even cares to know. I mean, that's weird. I don't know. That's weird. Yeah. And Candace Owens is interesting. Look, I am one of those people who is willing to say, I don't agree with this person on all these things, but that's not going to cloud my judgment on what they say about the next thing. Like, I'm really, truly, this is my discipline because this is the field that I'm in. I really have to, and I've worked on this skill. It's not something that comes naturally to me because, like any other human, I have my bias. And if I don't like somebody or I think someone is like an attention whore or something, then I'm going to be inclined to not believe anything they say. But I have to guard against that, or else then you're not really seeking the truth. You're seeking your own confirmation bias. And I was literally trained on confirmation bias. So I have to work at it, though. It's an active process. So people listening, you have to do the same thing, right? Like you work against your own bias.
But the other thing with with Candace Owens and the recent thing with the text messages is they are confirmed to be real.
Yes, and that is exactly why I was so happy.
Can you tell people what's in them?
So basically, I'm going to overgeneralize this because, again, I'm not really in any camp here. I'm just observing what people are doing. I'm really observing behavior at this moment and kind of going, this is really interesting. All these people that I like on a lot of topics are acting really weird around this particular topic. I'm not sure why, because if you want truth, then you want truth. But there's one school of thought, and actually Candace, I don't even think belongs to this school of thought, that it could somehow be, there could be an Israeli connection with the assassination. But Candace has very clearly said, no, I'm just saying I don't think that we have the whole story. And she's been very clear. In fact, I even listened, I didn't know we were going to talk about this today, but it's funny that I was listening to one of her videos, I think last night, about this topic when they were confirmed that the text messages were true. And the text messages basically were a chain of text messages in a thread with Charlie Kirk and other members of TPUSA and other members and other friends that were confirmed now by TPUSA to be true, where he was saying, things are getting out of control. I'm losing a lot of money, millions of dollars from Jewish donors. And it's clear that I have to leave the pro-Israel, I can't remember the exact phrase, so I don't want to, I'm paraphrasing. But basically, I'm leaving the pro-Israel lobby. Because essentially, they were holding money over his head. And everyone was like, that's ridiculous. Josh Hammer came out and said, oh, that's ridiculous. He's completely on board as he always has been. And right after the assassination, Netanyahu said, basically he died for Israel kind of thing. Well, Candace Owens said that she had these messages, and in a smart move, in my opinion, she didn't release them right away. She waited to see all the people come out and basically, now we know, lie. And then she puts out the text messages and TPUSA says, actually, those are true. So what do you make of that? People will say, oh, so you think Israel killed? No. All I'm saying, and like you so rightly pointed out, people lied about Charlie's intent and Charlie's current way of thinking, which was very nuanced. The one thing I will give him credit for, and I disagreed with him on many things, the one thing I really admired about him was his willingness to entertain conversations and potentially be swayed on something. RFK has a very similar way of approaching the world, and I try to model that same kind of thing. Everyone has their own biases, but I try to guard against it and I try to be open-minded. But when Candace produced those text messages, she was being lambasted for days about that. Now she was right.
There's a patsy.
That's another. Yeah.
There's a patsy, and then the killer. Somebody's out there. I mean, who knows? Either way, when you spot a little lie, that makes so many other things come into question, and it's just nuts to me because that means that there needs to be sponsors and organizers,
right?
And the apparatus. I mean, there's an apparatus at play here that cleared the path for certain cast members to play their role, just like we saw elsewhere. And, I think that here's what we've gotten. He had a change of clothes, the kid. He took the shot, broke down the rifle, changed the clothes again, or changed the clothes then, reassembled the rifle, hid it in a forest. I mean, I don't know. Then we start getting into the physical impossibilities about the wounds being, like his skin were like Kevlar and all that stuff.
So for that, I would say a pitch for Chris Martinson. If you don't know him, Dr. Chris Martinson, he runs a channel called Peak Prosperity. He did some of the best breakdowns I've ever seen, and he has medical training, and he's also a gun guy. So it was just a great scientific. He also did it on the Trump attempted assassination. He's one of those people that's like, I only do the good ones, Building 7, that kind of thing. So he's really good and really just straight to the facts. Great. If you're interested in watching something on that, I learned a lot by watching it. Just like even just being able to understand angles and what people are talking about. But if you want to draw more comparisons to John F. Kennedy, I'll do a couple more for you that I've never heard anybody mention them. And I mentioned them to you off air, but
yeah, go ahead. I want to hear them.
There's one that I haven't heard anybody talk about, which I just thought was, again, weird. It doesn't prove anything, but it's just weird. But the patsy thing that you said is very interesting. And it also lines up like when, the reason that everybody got so fired up about Lee Harvey Oswald was, well, it's a pro-Castro communist. And, well, I mean, Kennedy has been trying to assassinate Castro. And so it's just all nice and neat, right? And so with the Kirk situation, if you were going to cover it up, who would you want to blame? You would want to blame someone who was pro-trans because Charlie was clearly not into the trans movement, not supportive of the trans movement. So when people say, well, what's the motive? Well, if you were going to cover it up, wouldn't you want to cover it up by the most obvious enemy of a Charlie Kirk personality? So there's that. Now that's a very loose comparison, but I'm just drawing a comparison. But here's the one that I was just, the moment I heard it on the day of, I believe, the assassination, when they found the rifle and they said what the rifle was, I was like, and I was waiting for someone else. I'm like, I can't be the only one that remembers this, but it was a German Mauser. That was the gun that this kid supposedly used. And I'm going to call him alleged because I'm in that habit because that's what I do for Lee Harvey Oswald. And he never got his day in court. And I'm never going to give in that Lee Harvey Oswald was the assassin of John F. Kennedy.
On that, before you can keep going, that's the other thing that we got earlier on is that the kid's father turned him in. Apparently that's not entirely true. That I don't know that he was convinced to turn himself. I don't think that the kid's father, that whole thing. But then you're talking about the day in court. We were given this strange arraignment live stream.
Yes,
if it was an arraignment, because I was waiting around to hear a guilty or a not guilty plea,
right,
or some kind of a statement made, and we didn't get any pleading. In fact, it was the image we got of this kid. It was barely moving. It was rarely blinking.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was very odd that we didn't even. I don't know if he's entered a plea anywhere. I thought that's what that live stream was. His image and likeness has been very strangely managed.
Yeah, there's a ton of inconsistencies for sure.
But go back to
and I will. And we're just asking questions. I have no idea. This could be the kid. I have no idea. But
because Oswald was very vocal outside the court.
Very vocal.
Whenever there was a camera there, he was pleading his innocence.
Yes.
This kid has been either out of sight, or when he's in sight, he is in a sedated, almost like glitched out, pixelated state.
I mean, you know, again, without even hearing his voice, I think the only thing he said in that arraignment was his name. But it has that Sirhan vibe. Again, I don't know what to make of that, but you're right. If you go and watch Lee Harvey Oswald so Kennedy was assassinated on a Friday, Oswald was assassinated on a Sunday. So basically you have Friday night, all day Saturday, where you get those movements from the interrogation rooms in the Dallas police station. And you'll see a few famous clips of Lee Harvey Oswald. And you know those behavior panels that analyze body language? Man, it's amazing to watch those guys going on it, because they were like, Oswald does not appear guilty at all. He seems genuinely surprised. At one point, one of the reporters yells, "You've been charged with," he said something like, how'd you get the black eye? A police officer hit me. You know, you've been charged with the murder of the president. And he misunderstood and says, "No, I haven't been charged with that." And then the reporter is the one who informs him, "You have been charged with that." And you immediately see Oswald, like, it's not the look of a guilty guy. It's a look of, oh shit. Like, he figured out what had happened, right? So that's just fascinating in just studying that. And the body language people also study that. But let me get back to the gun. So a German Mauser is a World War II bolt action rifle. That was the one that supposedly this kid, Tyler Robinson, used and that they found in the woods. What most people don't know about the Kennedy assassination, if you know anything about the Kennedy assassination, the official story is that it was Lee Harvey Oswald on the 6th floor of the school book depository with an Italian-made World War II Mannlicher Carcano rifle, 6.5 millimeter, I think. What people don't realize is that when the Dallas police first ascended to the 6th floor, and there's a whole bunch of things we can talk about maybe next month on the anniversary about Oswald on the stairwell and whether he was actually ever on the 6th floor, which I don't believe he was.
If I can just say, this is another reason why I just want to recruit people. If you have not become a sponsor of the show, and you're thinking about it and all that, take the leap. Become even like a $5 or $10 sponsor of the show. You get so much back. And if I can hit a couple more goals here, what I get to do is establish travel budgets. And that is what I can say. Jay,
go to Dealey Plaza.
I'm putting you on a plane to Dealey Plaza. Go out there in November and phone in from location.
Oh, man.
You know,
I would love to do that. I've never been there, so you'd get a little bit of my awestruck, but I could show you some things that I think are pertinent to the investigation while Dealey Plaza still exists, you know?
Okay. So back to what you're saying.
No, that's great. I would love to do that. So, okay. So what people don't realize is, again, let's say that, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald was on the 6th floor. I don't believe that, but let's just say he was. The rifle that was uncovered, you're not going to believe this, was a German Mauser. And it was stamped right on the barrel. And one of the police officers, who also happened to own a sporting goods store, so he was very familiar with rifles, said it doesn't really take an expert. It's stamped German Mauser. It's a Mauser right on the barrel. So he, and very soon after they realized that the Mannlicher Carcano was the only rifle that could be traced back to the A.J. Heidel, the alias that supposedly Lee Harvey Oswald used. So very quickly they realized a Mauser couldn't be the murder weapon. It had to be a Mannlicher Carcano, and that Mauser was lost to history. But you can still find information about it out there. So that was just, I don't know, it was weird. It was a public execution around the same time of day, within minutes, like high noon kind of time. It was in that 12 o'clock hour, from a building with a high-powered rifle, and it was a German Mauser in both instances. Again, history now tells us it was a Mannlicher Carcano, but a German Mauser was found on the 6th floor, and there's even video of the police holding up a German Mauser. So just weird. And I've not heard anybody say that. I just know that because forever and a day, that's one of my, when I talk to people about the Kennedy assassination, I ask them about the German Mauser, and they go, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, well, you haven't really studied the Kennedy assassination. If that name doesn't ring a bell to you, then you haven't dug deep enough into the Kennedy assassination, because German Mauser was also known to be a favorite rifle of one of LBJ's henchmen. So another side note. So.
I gotta find the footage of Oswald being told that he's being charged now.
Oh yeah,
being told he's being charged for murder.
It's a good one.
Well, I was.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let us see. I think I found a short.
I might recognize the clip if you show me the image.
Hold on a second. I found a short. What about this?
Yeah, this looks like it. This is the angle I remember.
All right, hold on. Let me see if I can watch his face.
Watch his mouth.
Well, I was questioned by a judge. However, I protested at that time that I was not allowed legal refuge.
You have been. Nobody said what?
Sir?
You have been. Nobody said what?
Shit! Cut it! Damn it!
Then when he says you have been charged with that, from this angle, there's a video still that keeps it on this angle, and you see the look on his face. You see his mouth purse, and I always thought that was a sign of shock. And it's funny because I'm not a body language person, but when I watched a video that analyzed all of this stuff, that's exactly what they said. They said, "Oh yeah, this is someone who was clearly caught off guard by this, and it's not someone who's hiding something. It's someone who's genuinely shocked by that." That's always the way I looked at it.
How stressful this is.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, there's some weird similarities. And again, I don't know. I don't know anything about the Kirk assassination. I don't only know what everybody else knows, but I also know that what everybody else knows are the inconsistencies so far. So we just need the real story, just like the Kennedy assassination. If you just put it all out there and the truth is that it was Lee Harvey Oswald on the 6th floor, then everything will point to that. And when you withhold things and you pretend and the truth doesn't need to be hemmed and hawed. It just is. It's so obvious. And when it's not, when it's a lie, it has to be beaten over your head because it's a lie. And they have to convince you that it's the truth. And that's all I'm saying about this. I'm seeing a lot of weird similarities and I don't understand what we're waiting for here. I understand that Tyler Robinson is still alive and there's a trial, so there could be some evidence that needs to be withheld. Okay, fine. But there's a lot of things, like Chris Martinson points out, why did the FBI give us the video of the guy running? Why don't we have the few minutes before that, which would have shown him in the shooting position shooting? Why is the video start when he's already running? Like, there's so many ridiculous things that could put all of this to rest. And this is exactly what happened in the Kennedy assassination. There were videos that were confiscated by the FBI that would have been right at the 6th floor window during the shooting. Oh no, we can't have that. Why? Because it wasn't Oswald. Beverly Oliver, where's your film? I've been saying that. I think I said that on the show last year. Where's Beverly Oliver's film?
Yeah. We said we wanted to have that be part of the disclosure.
Absolutely. Give me the Beverly Oliver film.
Because all of the paper that was pushed across the agencies and then the months after months and years after the assassination is nothing compared to all of the media that was confiscated.
Oh, absolutely.
All the interviews, all of who knows who else was filming at down there in Dallas. Yeah, filming anything.
And isn't it weird also that like with all the high def 4K all stuff, like I still feel like with the Kirk stuff, we're just getting. I mean, there must have been thousands of phones, maybe not thousands, at least hundreds, right? I mean, that was a huge mass of people. And there were cameras everywhere. And I know we've gotten some, but like, you're really telling me that we have all the footage we need. And again, I'll go back to Chris Martinson because he did such a great job of analyzing this from a very clinical perspective. He's like, there has to be better footage. Why is all the footage we have like these potato cameras, they keep calling them, like these, it's like really low resolution. Like there's gotta be some other stuff out there. Somebody has something. And maybe they've already turned it over to the FBI and maybe we don't have it yet. And again, I'm acknowledging that there is a trial to be had. So, some stuff might be sensitive, but you're not doing the public any services by continuing to put your foot in your mouth and change your story and have things just not add up or not make sense. That's all. That's all we're asking. Just
I know.
Let us know. If it's that kid and it's that kid, that's fine. I fully accept that. Just like if it was Lee Harvey Oswald, I would accept it, but it was never proven to me. I said he had to be killed because there's no jury in the world that would have convicted Lee Harvey Oswald. No one saw him do the shooting. No one.
You just never know, man. You just never know.
Yeah. And people think that. I mean, my history teacher, people think, there were witnesses. No, there weren't. There were witnesses to the assassination, but people weren't. No one saw Oswald do the shooting. People saw JFK get shot, but no one saw Lee Harvey Oswald do the shooting.
But I'm thinking about how possible it would have been to have found an emotional enough jury to have convicted him, even under the shoddiest of there would be his testimony, but then. Prosecutors would have provided a gun and they would have provided all of the, what had gone on to become the official story that people are still writing books about to this day. I don't know.
I think they were more concerned about Oswald telling what he knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
what part did he play in intelligence and all of that stuff? And I'm pretty sure, and that was probably the mob's involvement, was the cleanup crew, because I don't believe the mob had the ability to do all the other things. But certainly they could have said, well, I think Oswald probably was supposed to be killed or something, you know, on the day. And when that didn't happen, they were like, all right, Rubenstein, you're up. You know, like this can't go any further. It must be done today. And that's it, you know? So.
No, I'm with you on that. It definitely is more so about stopping a person from talking after the fact. Not that I don't think that they could have gotten the result that they wanted from a court setting.
Right. And by the way, where are the notes from the interrogation of Oswald? They interrogated him for 2 days. Where are the notes? They're not. And the autopsy notes from Kennedy's autopsy. Where are the? Oh, well, they had blood on them, so we burned them.
That was the excuse?
Yeah. They didn't want.
They weren't even reproduced.
They didn't want him to be a spectacle for Jackie, right?
They didn't
the grieving widow. So we burned them because they had blood on them, and then it forced the doctors to have to recreate them from memory. Awesome.
Why? See, these are the things. These are the things that I don't know.
Yeah, these are the things that keep me up at night.
I did not know about that.
Yeah. It's wild. Wild stuff.
You think about all the lies that have to be, the little lies that have to be told.
It's incredible. And I always hate when people say, oh, you think you can keep a conspiracy between so many people? Someone would have told. It's like, they did tell. All the information is out there, you dope. You just don't believe it.
Quite literally.
Yes. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I hate that argument because it's just so not true. People talk and you don't believe them.
That's usually what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You don't think that this could have been, this wouldn't have been found out. So actually, depending on who you talk to, I mean, there's an answer for every question.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think about it. Now there is variation. I think most people who look at what happened on September 11, 2001, see that, and there are plenty of things you just can't get around, and say, all right, well, the books are cooked.
The fact that the 9/11 Commission report doesn't even mention Building 7. How do you not mention the third building that fell in New York?
The third structure
What
that
is
fell.
going on? How stupid do you think people have to be? But I mean, it's worked up until now. I told you off, I'm really digging the Tucker documentary series on it. He's only released 2 episodes so far, but I liked them both. They're very good. They're starting to name names, and we knew all this stuff. Anyone who's ever studied it knows, but you know, it's just nice to get a refresher because I'm really getting sick, Frank. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm really getting sick of all the memorials and the bells ringing and the names being called. I'm not trying to be cold. I'm saying when they say never forget, what exactly are we not forgetting?
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think we have the truth. So what are we not forgetting? Are we not forgetting that a bunch of Muslim hijackers with box cutters planned this from a cave and flew? Is that what we're not forgetting? Because I'd actually like the truth here.
Oh, yeah. In fact, and this is the thing that got me about this past year, because on September 10th, Charlie Kirk got it.
Right.
And I said it when I went on air the next day. I said, you know, this is crazy, but this is the first time in nearly 25 years now that that September 11th felt like September 12th.
It felt like an afterthought. Yeah, you're right.
It felt like the day after, like when living through September 11th in 2001, and then those days afterwards where you're still trying to process what's going on. Now, it was I didn't have anybody I was related to die down there. So it was still very traumatic. You're processing everything you saw, everything you know about living in New York.
Sure.
Especially if you're local, you have there's more going on there because you're thinking about a city that you've been in so often, drastically changing.
Yeah.
And then also what it means for the culture across the country drastically changing, because already there was, you know, we're talking about going out and finding the people and security measures, and then so shortly afterwards we are judging what we're doing over the course of a holiday weekend based on what the color gradient in the terror levels are.
Oh yeah, it was.
You know, okay, well we're at orange level today. We might not want to go to the shopping mall for Christmas.
Amazing tool for manipulation.
Holy shit, man!
Amazing.
They do the same thing for climate change.
Oh yeah.
You know, they color the entire map red, and they say that the Earth is melting.
Have you seen those fantastic memes though, where they show you what it was like 20 years ago? Same numbers, even if maybe even a little hotter, but they've just changed the colors to make people feel like it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, it's a true psyop.
It's just dude, I remember learning very, very early on that was the decision-making process for fast food restaurants to how they're going to decorate their interiors. Like the colors of red and yellow inside of McDonald's actually psychologically gets you prepared to eat and go. It's a hotter, quicker moving kind of like we're talking about the little psychological things.
I thought it was ketchup and mustard.
It could be.
Yeah, no, but I believe somebody studies all of those little details because the human mind is such an untapped, resource, and it can drive us in so many unconscious ways. Absolutely. I've read books on it from a nutritional perspective, how food companies hijack things all the time. So I have absolutely no doubt that this stuff is being, we're being mass manipulated, and some of us obviously are far more susceptible. And the most recent example is, I guess, COVID, like watching what people did to loved ones.
Yeah.
Because of, something that was even less dangerous than a typical flu season was frightening.
What was I even getting into?
Well, it was the day after.
The day after. You're processing things at the the day, but that it was unless you were grieving a loved one, you were doing other things. You were just you were watching all the footage over and over again. But then again, there was not that much to watch that we have now.
No. It was the main channels.
You were watching MSNBC,
right.
CNN. That's it.
Yep.
If you wanted to see, and it was nonstop coverage, but you couldn't go to YouTube for another 6 years.
Yeah, I know.
To look at stuff and to be able to analyze things. And this is why the reason why I'm bringing all this stuff is up now is that when September 11th rolls around these days, and especially the last 15, 20 years since we've gotten on-demand video and stuff like that, is that I don't forget on that day, because I'm always watching. Not only do I watch the impacts and the falls, but I am always watching the people jumping. Yeah. I'm always listening to voicemails from people inside the building, calling 911, choking on flames. Yep. To say for anybody to say that looking into to actualizing that horror and feeling that there's so much more that's not being said, and that there are so many people that died this horrible death, and you feel like there could be a little bit more justice for them if we got to the truth. That it's somehow disrespectful.
Oh, don't even
to make inquiries.
Anybody who says that, they're gonna get a smack in the face, because it is the complete opposite of that. I'm so sick of the never forget. I say never forget the fact that we still don't have the truth. And every year I try to learn something new that I didn't know about it. So for instance, this year I learned, so you know about the shorting of the stocks, right?
Yeah.
So the airlines, the specific airlines, and even the shorting of the banks that were in the World Trade Centers that were impacted, right? So these were massive windfalls. Well, did you know this? That the 9/11 Commission has the identity of those people who shorted those stocks, and they've never released them to the public. That's interesting. That almost perfectly aligns with foreknowledge, doesn't it? Wouldn't you want to talk to those people and, how did you know exactly which airlines and which banks to short before 9/11?
It became a plot point in Casino Royale when they rebooted the Bond series with Daniel Craig.
Oh yeah,
in the Bahamas when he just had stopped the bombing of that new Airbus model.
Right.
So Le Chiffre went and took $100-something billion or whatever the hell it was and shorted these airline stocks, and he was going to blow it up on the day that it went and took off. And, Judi Dench tells Daniel Craig, giving him a little bit of a debrief afterwards, the day before the September 11th attack,
I remember that scene.
Somebody shorted airline stock. It was a throwaway line that gave legitimacy to what they just tried to pull in the movie. And
so what, don't you think? But I didn't know that the commission has the identities, and they've still kept them secret all this time.
When did you find that out? Because I never heard that.
Yeah, that was in the Tucker Carlson documentary.
Wow.
So I make it a point every year to learn something new about 9/11 because I'm never going to forget that we've been lied to and that we've never been told the truth. And I'm not trying to be, it's the opposite of being cold to the families. I'm tired of hearing the bells. I'm tired of all that because no offense to people like Rudy Giuliani and all the people that were there, but they still say stupid things like, thank God George W. Bush was president when that happened. Because again, they're too close to it. They're too emotionally invested. They can't be counted on for a rational. They still think the official story is the official story because if they let themselves accept that the government would do that to the people and to Giuliani, who almost died on 9/11, they have to tear down a whole bunch of other belief systems, and people like that are not ready to do it. So sorry, Rudy Giuliani is not a good source of information on 9/11. He's too conflicted. Again, it's the same reason they don't let a cop investigate the murder of a loved one. Too emotionally invested. You have to be able to use your logical mind. So tired of the bells, tired of the reading of the names. I want the damn truth because clearly we don't have it. What crashed into the Pentagon? You ever seen a plane crash with no plane parts? I mean, it's just ridiculous what they want you to believe. So even setting aside the towers, jet fuel melting steel, even setting that aside, what caused Building 7 and what hit the Pentagon? So I can't recommend it enough. Every year you should really never forget that you've been lied to and be on an eternal quest for truth. Because I've been doing this on JFK since I was a freshman in high school. And my history teacher hated me.
Have you? I can imagine. I can imagine.
She hated me.
I can imagine. My history professor, Professor Bowling, I think on most nights he watches this show. He emails me every so often.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure that he's biting his lip tonight.
That's okay.
Because,
It was my history book that told me that that's what set this off. My history book said Lee Harvey Oswald was the assassin. And I was like, but I mean, he didn't even get a trial. I was very innocent, right? And the way she came at me was maybe go, might be something to this. I guess she was not having it.
Have you ever watched James Corbett's work on all this?
I love James Corbett.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
all
great.
right. Because if you're
you had him on the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
if
great.
you're doing a little bit maybe next September I can get him back.
He's awesome.
That'd be a great person to talk to because he went, aside from all the things, I believe his big movie on it was called War Games.
Okay.
I think so.
I don't know if I've seen it.
It was talking about the war games going on that day and just the activity in the sky, the coordination, the whole NORAD thing.
Yeah.
It's nuts, the stand down orders and what was a drill and what wasn't. But what he gets into better than anybody else is breaking down the interviews with people, first responders, and especially those who disappeared afterwards and were seemingly, removed from the stage.
What about the explosions that not just the firefighters heard, but the ones that are on video? Dude. Have you ever seen the videos of the firefighters making phone calls to loved ones on payphones in New York City streets? You're hearing explosions and booms well after all of the, before the towers fell, but well after the planes hit. How do you explain things like that?
This is what I'm talking about.
And the firefighters know.
24 years ago. I mean, it's October 8th. 24 years ago to the night, there was still very little anybody else was watching.
Yeah.
Baseball had resumed. The Yankees were in the playoffs. There's the things, thing we're trying to get back on with it. But October 8th, 2001, everybody's still watching every night what the hell is going on. And it's the only place you can get anything. Right now, what is being uploaded to the internet that has been recorded by all types of people so many years ago. And you can say, well, you got to watch out because people are just going to be AI generating a lot. But no, there's certain things that like, holy shit. I mean, this is just nuts. It's things that at a time you would understand why it would just be avoided or suppressed. And just listening to the chatter of New York City firemen talking to each other and describing the things that are being blown out. Everything. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah,
it's nuts what they're describing. They're describing being inside of a demolition zone, finding themselves and fighting their way out of a demolition zone.
Yeah,
and there's so much more of that. I'm subscribed to several channels on Instagram now where I'm getting all this stuff that I've never seen before.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I gotta.
And if you've never looked into this stuff, it might be shocking to you, but there's so much evidence out there. And so I would say to anybody, especially history teachers out there, just look at it. And I know it can be painful. Listen, I've gotten used to it now, maybe because I started it so young, but I understand why the Rudy Giulianis of the world think the way they think and need to protect their psyche by thinking the way they think. But that's not a quest for truth. That's a quest for safety and comfort. And very often those are very opposite directions. So, there have been some great interviews with firefighters. And I remember seeing one interview where the firefighter was asked about what do young firefighters think of the story of 9/11? Because they're trained, with like fires in Building 7. That's the official story. So fires brought it down. Well, that's ridiculous. And nobody ever thinks that could be the case. But this guy said the young firefighters, they don't believe the official story anymore. They don't believe it. So even the firefighters in New York don't think 9/11 was what it was. So maybe you should open your mind and start thinking, what do the firefighters know that I don't know? That buildings like that had that fire don't collapse ever.
Take a listen to this. Here is some radio chatter amongst firemen. This is some of the stuff that's being posted. And NYC_WTC is one of the it's one of a few that I follow. There's just so much good stuff, and it's incredible. It's things I never saw before, and I've consumed so much, like so many of you at home. Yeah. But here they are talking about how, and we're talking about at the impact zones of the towers where the planes hit. How they've got isolated pockets of fire that they believe that with one or two lines they should be able to knock it down.
Oh, I have heard stuff like this.
Listen to this. Hold on. Let me get this. 1 second.
We got two. Isolated pockets of fire. We should be able to knock it down with 2 lines, right?
We should be able to knock it down with 2 lines.
Yeah.
Okay, 78th floor.
They know that. 78th floor. We got two. Isolated pockets of fire.
The bottom line here is that the American public has not been told the complete truth about the events of that fateful autumn morning 18 years ago.
Damn straight.
So we're talking about, and somebody that there's quite a few here, but one of the top comments: 2 buckets of fire that can be extinguished with 2 lines is not enough fire to deform structural steel and compromise a 110-story building just to the point of total. It's not even just partial crumble.
Oh no,
total collapse.
Yeah, it's just
total obliterate. Just turned to a pile of dust.
I mean, yeah, and again.
Well, there's a lot of
I don't know how you can live in 2025, and now you've seen in your lifetime, some of the lies, even if you just want to look at like political lies, like the Russia hoax or anything like that, and where do you draw the line then?
Here's another one.
The Red Cross rep was like, he goes over and he says, well, you got to stay behind this line because they're thinking about bringing the building down. They didn't say what building. They just said bringing a building down. So we're like, okay, we'll take their word for it. We'll stay behind the line. And he went over and he talked to one of the, through all the commotion, he goes over and he asked one of the Red Cross or one of the firefighters what was going on. I don't know if he got an answer or not. He came back over with his hand over the radio and it sounded like a countdown. And at the last few seconds, he took his hand off and you heard 3, 2, 1. And he was just saying, just run for your life, just run for your life. And then it was like another 2, 3 seconds. You heard explosions. Like, boom!
Plural.
It's like a distinct sound. It's not like when compression, like boom, 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 like floors that were dropping and collapsing. This was boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something. That, to me, I knew that was an explosion. There was no doubt in my
Okay, Frank. So let's even give them, the fires made the building structurally unsound, and so it was a controlled demolition. They had to bring it down. It was unsafe. What do you know what goes into the? I watched a guy who does controlled demolitions. He's like, do you know how long in advance you have to set those charts? You don't just set those up in 10 minutes on the morning of 9/11.
I asked Richard Gage that.
Yeah, so even if they give you that, it was a controlled demolition, well then how the hell did the charges get there? which part of this logic loop can you not close?
Yeah, see that's the whole thing, that when somebody like Larry Silverstein says in a very well circulated television interview that they were telling me about the state of the fire, and we said, pull it, we're gonna just pull, like, as if it's just like, we've already lost.
Like every building in New York is just pre-wired with explosive to be pulled at any moment.
It's like building code in New York City.
What?
Make sure that it's already rigged,
and it's just one red button.
One red button.
Unbelievable, Frank.
Break glass in a state of emergency.
Like, you try to have this conversation with people and they will shut you off because, again, it's that wall of cognitive dissonance that they know if they cross that, there is no end to where the lies begin or end. And I think that's why a lot of people won't do it, which is why. And again, I don't mean to be cruel. I'm on a quest for truth. So those 9/11 ceremonies, like, I'm just tired of them now, man. It's 24 years and we're not getting any closer to anything. That 9/11 commission report was a joke, just like the Warren report. How many times does this have to repeat the lies of the government official commissions before we finally start to say, hey, when are we going to get some damn truth here?
No, see, they piss me off. All of the ceremonies, they piss me off. But for the very distinct reason that you're reading names of people who, and a lot of the times the names are now being read by 25-year-old kids who grew up without parents.
I know.
And you think about what they've been rooked of, and you think about the young people who died that never got to have kids there. You think about all the time that has gone on, and it's still we're still just playing, and all this is being used now, is especially for the last 5 years. I remember around 2020, 2021, around there, is when it just started becoming even more brazen that, whenever a Hillary Clinton or somebody would show up at a 9/11 ceremony somewhere, it would then just start becoming rolled into a contemporary political attack.
Oh, absolutely.
To start, saying that the people who are campaigning or a current candidate is much like Al Qaeda back then, or mindset, and then of course it's always either now being used into launching contemporary political attacks or trying to get all rah about military adventurism that is still just, it's so old, and we're not feared anywhere.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off what the real legacy of this really has been, and that is eroding American liberty, and
Patriot
also
Act.
It continues to erode anything that would have been considered a healthy, patriotic life, and fuck it all. It disrespects people who died.
I agree. The lie of 9/11 is far more disrespectful than the search for truth. Far more disrespectful. I just don't. I mean, if I was one of those people that died, or a loved one, all I would want is for people to find the actual truth, because if it's not Osama bin Laden and a bunch of hijackers in a cave, or at least they weren't sort of, like the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping kind of thing, like kind of helped along the way, then you really don't know who's responsible for the death of your loved one. And then those people are still out there potentially. So I don't understand people who act that way, but I do on one level, because again, they're protecting that sort of cognitive dissonance that will just erode everything else. And I understand that, but at some point, you just have to kind of pull the pin on that and start on the process of learning the world around you is not what you think it is.
Right.
And 9/11 is a great place to do it. And Building 7 is a wonderful place to start.
It is. All right. Well, listen, it's 9:15.
Oh, is it really?
I just realized that.
Holy mackerel.
Let me check the super chats. ST says, so happy you're back, Frank. Much love, Frank and Julio. Agree, much more questions than answers regarding Charlie Kirk and others. Yeah. Dana Demystified says, hey, Frank and Jay, why couldn't Amelia Earhart teach kids the alphabet? Because she lost at sea. Love me.
That was a good one. A good one. What was the one I told you before?
I forget.
My introverted friend, we invited my introverted friend to a Halloween party, and she dressed as Amelia Earhart. She sent us a message that said she was on her way, and she never showed up.
That's a great way of kind of like getting out of going to a party.
Yeah, I'm gonna be Amelia Earhart. Well, I wonder where Jay is.
Think about that this year. You get that invitation that you don't really want to answer. So Dana also says, I love me some alpha GPC and BPC 157 peptides.
Hey.
Thanks for another great show.
There you go.
Yeah. By the way, for the rest of October, if you go to the links in the description below for Keto Brainz and mindthymitochondria.com, that is both of Molly's companies right there for a whole host of peptides, to be honest. And if you use the promo code TREAT, as in trick or treat, you are getting entered into a giveaway at the end of this month. We're going to have one winner from either website to get either a full year's worth of Keto Brainz or a year's worth of 157.
What? I mean, both of those are expensive prizes.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Well, if you talk about one bag of Keto Brainz a month for 12 months, you're talking about it's like $600.
That's incredible. Molly's so great. That
Molly's
company's
fantastic.
So great. Yeah.
And it's fantastic products.
Yeah.
I mean, you would.
Yeah.
I'm spending that whether she's giving me the deal or not, because that's how I take my coffee now.
That's great.
All right. Anyway, so go check that out. That's in the description, and we will see you tomorrow night. Oh, Jay Britt says, Amelia Earhart, that deaf, dumb, and blind kid, sure plays a mean pinball.
I was almost going to go there when we were talking about it earlier, because I said Helen Keller, deaf, dumb, and blind. I was like, wait, was she all of those?
Road Trip just says Molly's new peptide MOTSC at Mind Thy Mitochondria. I don't know what that one is.
So MOTSC, that's a mitochondrial support. I don't think that's theirs though. I think they're selling it from another company. I believe. MOTSC is very cool. We have all kinds of stuff on that at Health Reclamation Project. You can learn more about all those peptides. But yeah, MOTSC is a good one. I'll be experimenting with that one soon. I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all we got over there. We're going to do some overtime over on
overtime.
I know. We were supposed to do that 15 minutes ago. Now we got to get over to pilled.net. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Jay, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Everybody, go check out Jay's link of the newly launched website. It is on the description of this episode. And remember the promo code FALL45, FALL 45. Mm-hmm. That's it. Okay. Well, until, I don't know, week and a half or so.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on Pilled for a couple more minutes. Come on over until the lights go out.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
All right, everybody. Check the chat rooms, and I'll put the link in there. We'll see you in a few minutes. Let's do it. All right, everybody.